All right. You know what? We just had a little bit of technical difficulties, but we're back. And tonight we are having the great trans woman debate. So, welcome in, everyone. Welcome in. Welcome in. Tonight we're going to be talking about transgender, the whole trans. We're going to talk about anything and everything transgender woman and women's spaces. That's what we're talking about tonight. So, welcome in the phone lines in just a moment, but I wanted to tell a story. I wanted to tell a story real quick. There's going to be smoke in the city? No, there's not going to be any smoke in the... Wait, you know what? There may be a little bit of smoke tonight. As a matter of fact, because I think I'm going to go smoky tonight. Welcome to everybody who is here from my mailing list. If you're here from my mailing list, put up the number 5. I want to see those 5s up here. If you were coming in from my mailing list, I'm going to give you all a moment to come in and get yourself acclimated. All right, so we got the mailing list people in the house. All right, so listen, we're going to tell a little story, right? And then after I tell the story, my makeup and everything should be done, and we should be able to get right into the conversation. Welcome in, everyone from the mailing list. Welcome in. Welcome in. Right, welcome in. Welcome. All right. So once upon a time, on a planet far, far away, there were these beings. And these beings were assigned with a really special duty. These beings were in charge of the creation of the face of the planet that they were on. And these beings were born with a tool that allowed them to do that. The tool was a lantern. And when the time was right in their lives, the lantern would be rubbed and the world as they knew it would change and shift according to these people. Let's call them the keepers of the lantern. That's what we'll call them. We'll call them calls for short. So these calls, the keepers of the lantern, they didn't know that they had no knowledge of the lantern. It was up to the people around them to slowly introduce them to the great, amazing duty that had been bestowed upon them. And then they would be acclimated into this amazing task that they were held responsible for. Now, this was a large task for such a small being, so the time had to be right. And they had to induct these beings very slowly into knowing and learning the power of the lantern, right? So as they would go on through their being lives, they would... Now listen, it was a toss-up. It was a toss-up between the calls and, there were these other beings. So there were 2 different types of beings placed on this planet: the calls and the non-calls, right? That's what we'll call them. Call the non-calls, right? And so slowly over their existence, they were made aware, and they were to be made aware of their lantern and the power of this lantern, right? And then as time went on, the powers of the lantern, these calls, they passed it on from one to the other. And it was when the beings came into existence, you never knew which you would be, the call or the non-call. So what ended up happening is the non-calls ended up becoming physically stronger than the calls. So the calls were all about, let's create this beautiful universe. And the non-calls were people who could be very warring. So what ended up happening is they ended up subjugating the calls, and the calls had to live in an existence with these people, or rather with these beings that they created to be larger and stronger than them. They had the power with these lanterns to open up the universe and allow new beings to come to be, right? So the non-calls were angry, and they enslaved the calls, kept them in servitude, and kept them feeling very self-conscious about the fact that they were calls. They even told the calls, even though the calls had this special gift bestowed upon them, they said, you know what, it's not that much of a gift after all. It's a burden. It's a curse. only the wicked persisted. They didn't care because they knew that they had this special duty, and some of them were even upset, that they were bestowed with this responsibility, right? But the responsibility was still theirs. So every 28 days, this lantern, this old oil from it, and it could be messy and it could be very cumbersome. And so they were taught, oh, you know what? This is bad. The way that it's leaking. Oh, you got that because you're a bad person, right? Because you were bad, right? And so time went on, right? And then, though these calls have been subjugated by the non-calls, right? What ended up happening is one day, the non-calls woke up and said, you know what? I feel like I am a call, right? I feel like I'm a call, a keeper of the lantern. And they said, you know what? I feel like I am a keeper of the lantern. I don't have a lantern. I can't get a lantern, but what I'll do is I'll have one makeshift, right? I could create one makeshift, and no matter what and how they tried to create the makeshift one, they did themselves to look like the calls, right? They created lanterns that would look like the calls lantern, but when all was said and done, the lantern could not perform the job of bringing new beings into this planet. It could not do the job of being able to shift the face of evolution in this realm, right? No matter how they tried. And as more time went on, the non-calls were like, you will refer to me as a call, as a keeper of the lantern. You will refer to me as a keeper of the lantern, and they continue to encroach upon the space of the calls, right? How many of you are following me out there? You following what I'm saying? And then they started the non-calls, then is where the non-calls could not enter, right? And the non-calls were like, you know what? I feel like I'm a call. I say that I'm a call. You better call me a keeper of the lantern, or you're going to face consequences, right? Somebody's saying they can't smell. You need to go get your COVID test, baby, because that's one of the symptoms, right? That's one of the symptoms. So for those of you who follow me, put up your hand, because this is part of what we're talking about right now. We're talking about a group of people. Shawty says she's lost. So we're talking about a group of people. We're talking about a group of people who have been given the task and the duty of being the gatekeepers for life on Earth. And there are other people who just do not have the lantern to bring life onto Earth. And these people feel the same people who subjugated women. Okay, see, there's some people who get what I'm saying. The same people who subjugated women now decide, you know what, I deserve to be in women's spaces. You refer to me as a woman because I'm a woman, though I don't have the lantern. So you all understand what it is that I'm saying? You all understand what it is that I'm saying. All right, you all understand what I'm saying. So here we are. And that's what tonight is going to be about. We're talking about trans persons encroaching upon the space of women and demanding of us that we refer to them as women. So Shani said, now I understand. It took you some time. Encroaching upon the space of women and making demands of us and penalizing us for not referring to people as a thing that they cannot be. If you are not a keeper of the lantern, you just aren't a keeper of the lantern. I mean, you can look like a keeper of the lantern, you can have the mannerisms of the keeper of the lantern, you can feel that you're a keeper of the lantern. But if you don't have a lantern, now there are some keepers of the lantern whose lanterns could not bring new beings forth. But does that mean that, okay, let's go forward. All right. You were on the air live. What's your name?
Kierra.
Hi, Hi, Kierra. Welcome. Welcome. Phone lines are open, everyone, in case you didn't know. In case you didn't know, right? Phone lines are open, and Kierra's on the line. So, Kierra, talk to me. What are your thoughts about everything that we're talking about?
I wasn't on the last live, but I did listen to it later. I just wanted to say happy future birthday. Me and you share a birthday, so I just wanted to
Thank
say happy
you.
birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. So, Kierra, what are your thoughts on the whole? Can there be two separate spaces? Can we collaborate and be able to find benefits for all of us? Talk to me.
I wholeheartedly agree that there's space for everyone. There's a lane for everyone. I don't think that we should be so inclusive, because it's kind of hard to be inclusive when the fight is not the same. And like, I hear a lot of arguments and a lot of conversations, or a lot of things I heard when I was listening to the last live that you did was about how some women who are born cannot bear children, who cannot, who have problems with their reproductive systems, that still considered women. And that's something that, bothers me, because you're using a minority to exploit why they wouldn't qualify, why we wouldn't, quote unquote, qualify them as women, because they don't have abnormalities that took place that prevented them from either having children or being able to successfully use their reproductive system in the way that they naturally would have done so.
Yeah.
And one of the things that gets on my nerves is that, okay, so if you take away those things, are they not still women? Okay, well, if you take away your male parts, are you not still a male then? The same argument can be argued.
I see what you're saying. I see what you're saying. So without a penis, is a male still a male? So what's a male if not a penis and a male reproductive system?
Yeah.
That's a question. So what makes a male a male?
Yeah.
That's a question, Kierra.
One of the things that I keep hearing is a contradiction in the trans group community's argument. And one of the things I've seen on YouTube, I've seen a lot of people who make this argument about how a woman is not defined by her reproductive system, and she's more than that. Okay, but when that's true. But if that's the same argument, then the same argument can be held for when a male doesn't have his reproductive organs. We don't talk about a male when they can't procure children.
Right.
That doesn't make them a man, and we never take that away from them. So when you remove your genitals, you're less a male because you do not have those genitals?
Okay, so I see what you're saying. So, but how's that? Can you somehow that relates to the whole transgender issue?
How it relates to the transgender issue is that when you want to occupy the same space, and because you have similar plights, having similar plights is, like I said, I definitely understand there are a lot of plights that trans women particularly share with women, and I don't like being called cis, but there are a lot of similarities, but occupying the same space means acknowledging that our reproductive system has a part of that space, is a part of why we hold that space. Okay. When we have inadequate healthcare in women's health, when we have high birth mortality rates, or mother mortality rates when it comes to giving birth, when we're having, insufficient, access to certain birth controls, and just a conversation of where you stand with birth control and or abortion. These are all a part of how our reproductive organs still get tied into that position in that space. And if you can't fundamentally understand why we have that space and why we occupy that space because of those issues, then how can you sit there and want to occupy the same space and not really, and just negate it?
Okay. But, so how much of being a woman has to do with the reproductive?
I think a large percentage of it has to do with the reproductive system. Not saying all of it, but a large percentage would have to go to our reproductive system, because our reproductive system doesn't just produce babies. That's not it. It also creates a part of our feminine ways, like how our does have a problem and she does have to get things removed. She has to then be on medication to help balance her back out.
But let me ask you a question, because according to your first piece of logic, right? If a man loses his penis, is he not still a man? So
I would never say that a man is not a man if he uses a penis. I was just saying that to use. I hear a lot in like the transgender conversations is that, well, reproductive system doesn't make a woman, and that's not. I didn't necessarily say that that's completely true, but at the same time, if you're going to use that same logic, then how? When you classify yourself as a woman, when you say, I feel like a woman, I'm a young woman internally, the outside don't match the inside. So then when you take away your male body parts and you say that you're a trans woman, it's hard for some people to disassociate with that, with you still being a male, because even though you don't have those body parts, we don't necessarily take away your male identity because your body parts are not there. Just like we don't necessarily take away your female identity just because your reproductive parts are not there.
Okay, so a trans person who doesn't have the female reproductive parts, is that person not a woman according to your logic? Because the reproductive part doesn't change whether the person is a man or a woman, right?
I personally don't think it. I personally don't think that it affects them being considered a male or a woman or a man, because men and women are genders. Male and female are sex, right?
Okay.
So what I'm saying, but there is some blend between the two, is what I'm saying, because we have those spaces where you have men who don't have their genitals, and you have women who don't have their genitals. Straight men, heterosexual men who want to be with women who don't have genitals, right? So you can't then classify them as something else because they can't identify with anything else, and they're not anything else. So I think that's part of, like, it's kind of hard to be in the same plight as somebody who had that privilege, who got certain privileges as being born a male, decided at some point in their adult life that they changed, and they want to be what they feel in the inside, and they change what they look like on the outside, and they then are occupying women's spaces, but not understanding that the maneuvers that you went through as a male, and the physical changes that you decided to take, you didn't have to deal with the implications that women have to go through physically. Okay. I guess I should say. So I'm not saying that it doesn't make them not a trans woman, because they are a trans woman, right? But to say that they are the same, in the same category, in the same space as us, is not necessarily accurate either. It wouldn't be accurate, can't be accurate, because they can't understand some of the planks that we go through on a physical level.
Okay.
That's being a woman. That's all I'm saying.
What? Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I appreciate you calling in and speaking your piece. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right, phone lines are open, and so we're having our conversation this evening, and someone is saying there's no sound. Ask the person to refresh. Tell the person to refresh, since they can't hear me. Just type it out. Right, okay, so if you're going to call in, make sure that you don't call in from a blocked phone number. That would be very helpful. Right, and so the question is about trans women occupying the space of biological women, and whether or not there is enough space for all of us. Does it take anything away from women? Does it take anything away from women for a trans person to be in that space? Does it remove anything from us? Or are we still in all of our full viability? The phone number is inside of the subject of the video. 323-488-3149. You are on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Tanika.
Hi, Shanika. So what is your comment on the topic this evening?
All right, so I feel like with this issue, I feel like what we're witnessing in society right now, when I look at these different channels, is not about respect or disrespect. It's a difference between a good fight and just wanting to argue with each other.
Okay.
I feel like with where I'm from, no one's going to be, I'm not going to be calling them names or beating them up or anything like that. But where the greater line is, as your topic is discussing, is the biological reality. Like, why I gotta deny the biology of the situation, right? And I feel like the people who are saying that trans women are indeed women or trans men are indeed men, they're not being honest in this discussion about it. And years before leading up to this, they were talking about a spectrum, right? They were talking about sexuality as a spectrum. And then also now they're talking about how there's more than two genders. So if I'm a cisgender woman, why do I have to identify with a trans woman? It was going by their logic, right?
Okay.
Why can't we discover, in quotation marks, why can't we discover our gender, who we are? Why are they forcing us to identify with that? Like, what if cisgender women really decided, you know what, we are cisgender women? Then they would still have a problem with it, right? Even with the whole, sexuality is a spectrum, right? Like, people gonna be saying, okay, they saying it's a spectrum. Okay, well, I like this thing. I like cisgender men with penises, right?
Okay.
But now that's a problem too, right?
But because I don't have a problem.
Well, they're saying that if I discriminate based on genitalia, then it's a problem.
Who has told you this?
So they're saying I'm intolerant.
Who's told you this? Who's told you this?
Well, they're saying it on a platform. Like, I know I've been following, this show, and this particular episode. I've been following those two, vloggers.
Oh, okay.
And it just always like even after everything that was said, they still ended it on, like, the girl who Harriet girl. She, on the end of her show, when she was discussing it with the transgender woman, they still after the whole discussion they had, which was a good discussion, at the end of the discussion they said, you shouldn't discriminate based on genitalia. That's so no matter what, everything they said, they still did it like that because they know. And it's something that really strikes me is that this person, the Harriet lady, she always come and say that she is cisgender woman, straight woman. So she wants us to break down the barriers, but she the one who come into the conversation, trying to lead, and she say she all this stuff. So I feel like she doing that, so she won't have to answer, her preferences and things like that. But while she's shaming women who are like, no, we like this and we like that.
Hold on, but I need to understand. You shouldn't judge people by their genitalia. So what is the ideal then? That we don't care what the genitalia is?
They say, like, if you are attracted to somebody that you think is a man, but then you find out that they have a vagina, then you are intolerant.
Yes, I am very intolerant of another vagina coming near me. I'm intolerant of that. I ain't afraid to admit that. I don't see what's the issue with admitting you are intolerant of a certain type of genitalia coming near you. I ain't licking on no birdies.
I would agree with that, but now they're saying that we're intolerant. And the same thing like they again now, you should like vagina, or you tell that to a lesbian woman you should like a penis. That would be considered intolerant. That would be considered intolerant and harassing. But now they're telling us that that's intolerant and that's harassing.
You know what? I think we need to, just like there's so many of us that don't like the angry black woman trope. They're like, oh, you an angry black woman? I am intolerant of vagina coming near me. I am intolerant, yes. Call me intolerant.
I want to say one more thing.
Go ahead.
They always say that, and going back to how these people, I think, like, we're calling them handmaidens. They lead a woman. They promote these ideas and they lead young innocent women into like trouble, whatever. But like, if you think about it, they always talk about genitalia. So my question to all these women who say that they fit in the straight woman and who label other people transphobic, how many people who you think of as men have you approached who have post-puberty breasts? Why y'all always talk about genitalia, but they not stepping up to go approach the people who I don't know if stud is the correct word, but like they approach the studs to figure out if they're a man or a woman. You understand what I'm saying? They always talk about genitalia, but what about the breast? I feel like they're trying to escape.
What are we talking about right now? Whose breast?
Okay.
You done lost me.
I'm saying is this. The same people who would say they cisgender straight women while coming up with the idea that trans women are women.
Okay.
I'm asking them, how many so-called men have you approached that have breasts?
Get off my phone, please.
What I'm saying?
I want you to leave me alone. Leave me alone. Leave me alone. What are
you understand what I'm saying? Like you so about the life. I feel like there's so many people talking who not really about the life that they promoted to other people.
Okay, you know what? Wait, tell us where you're from with that accent. Where's your accent from? I think it's cute.
I was raised in New Orleans for a little minute, but my parents they talk like that, and then I have a stepfather, he's Spanish, so I'm all messed up. I barely know how to read. I know how to read.
Wait, what's going on here?
Like that,
You can't read?
But I can't read. I'm just saying, like, my accent kind of crazy out of the world.
Are you dyslexic?
No, I'm not dyslexic. I'm just saying, I got my mom was from California, my dad from.
But why did that stop you from being able to read?
Hispanic stepdaddy,
Okay,
so.
I'm not, okay. Okay, all right. Maybe it was just a figure of speech. All right, dear, listen, I'm going to let you jump off the phone so that we can take the next caller, okay?
All right, bye-bye.
All right, thank you. All right, so the phone lines are open, and we're talking about trans issues tonight. And I'm learning some new things. Listen, I gave everyone a more than an 8-hour head start to be able to come together with what it is that we're talking about tonight, which is the trans issue, trans women in women's spaces. And I told a story in the beginning of the broadcast, right? So the phone lines are open, 323-488-3149. I can't read your comments. I gotta look away. You don't see, just stop me from being able to talk. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Jazz. This is Jazz.
JR?
Jazz, like the music.
Oh, Jazz. Okay. Thank you for calling in, Jazz. So what is your comment tonight?
Well, my comment is first this, Tonya. I appreciate you having this conversation because I think I've been working this whole idea out in my brain for the past couple of years. Because I consider myself, like an ally to LGBTQIA+. I consider myself sitting in that space, but I've always struggled with this idea that transgendered females or women consider themselves, just want to, kind of sit in the space of biological women. And I'm like a lot of people who I'm not really open to using this cisgender term, but, we'll use it for the sake of that. So I appreciate you having a conversation because I find that often when people have this conversation, they are framed as being transphobic instead of just trying to understand, everything, especially in this changing society. So that was really my main comment. You really, I'm here for it. I'm here for the discussion. In my honest opinion, there should be two categories. In other societies, there are third genders. There are more than one gender. Yeah. So the trans community, a trans woman's experience is not the experience of a biological woman. And there was a conversation around, what if your genitalia or your as a bio woman, what if your reproductive things don't work? Well, I don't necessarily work. I'm infertile. However, there's a specific experience of a biological woman to be born in this body as a woman, knowing that, being raised in society with this idea that you're supposed to bear children, and then becoming of age and being able to do what your body or what society says your body is supposed to do. That is not the experience of a trans woman. So you can't
Right.
say that those things equate each other, you know? So, and that's the same thing as a trans woman growing up as a boy, you know, and feeling like you're in the wrong body, and then coming of age and change. That is not the experience of a body experience, because it's unique, you know? And
what?
so
People,
I
I'm
don't
sorry.
mind
People,
what,
I'm
you know,
sorry. People are saying that
recognizing.
the people are saying it's buffering. Let me see if I
Oh,
can.
Lord,
And I can't type anything. Why do we have to have these issues? They're telling me to move to Facebook. Now somebody's saying it's working. All right, now the numbers have come back to us. Okay, so are we back? Are we back, everyone? Give me a thumbs up if you can see that we're back. Give me a thumbs up if you can see that we're back. Put up those thumbs up. Yellow, brown, white, whatever your color thumbs up. Let's see it. Okay, so the people say that we're back. So Jazz,
Cool.
you were saying that a woman who is sterile, that that it's a different experience than coming in.
Exactly. A woman whose reproductive organs don't work for whatever reason is still a specific experience to womanhood, or you know, and I'm trying not to be offensive. It's a specific experience to women who are born biologically female. And I also will say this: femininity for me doesn't necessarily equal womanhood. It really doesn't. It really, the reproductive part and maybe experience of how we are perceived in society from a child onto a woman, that is more of that. But like, you know, I know I'm plenty masculine women who present masculine, but they were born in a female body. They consider themselves female, but they may never put on a dress, you know? And so I can't necessarily say that just femininity is that. And then another thing is often, this is one thing that's interesting to me. I find that transgendered individuals often perform womanhood. At least that was.
What do you mean?
Like I said, I'm happy that you're able to give us this platform to have this conversation. Because a lot of times, you know, when you say stuff, people think you're being transphobic, and I'm not. I'm just telling you, you know, what I think. It seems sometimes it's performative almost.
Okay.
Sometimes, not everybody who's trans, but a many. It's ultra. It's over the top. Sometimes it's like, okay, you switching real hard, ma'am. You know.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right.
That's my thought.
You know what, Jazz? Thank you so much. You are a trooper. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for staying with me during the technical difficulty. And she treated me to a little song while we were off the air. So thank you for that too. Thank you. You have a great evening. Okay.
All right.
All right.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. The phone lines are open. The phone lines are open. And we are talking trans tonight. So you're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name? I need you to turn down the volume on your computer. Yes. Hi.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. So talk to us.
Okay, so I've heard a lot of people talk about fertility and all that mess. And, you know, everyone does have their own specific experiences as individuals. Now, I've also heard people bring up male privilege.
Yes.
Now, here's the thing. There are many people who start their transitions at different periods in their life.
Yes.
Some people have started later, like, oh my gosh, Caitlyn Jenner. But she also grew up in a time period where it was not as accepted, but she also got to benefit from her male privilege throughout her life. And then you have people who began their transition as children who never get to experience said privilege. And you have people who began their transition, say, late teens, early 20s. Now, with a lot of trans individuals, they are kind of they're discriminated against heavily and forced out of legitimate work. So they don't have the benefit of, say, the male paycheck. Because we all know that men normally get paid better than women. It's well documented.
Okay. So let's get to the crux of what it is that you're talking about. So you're talking about males who transition later versus earlier, and that there's some trans women who have never experienced male privilege. This is what you're saying?
Yes. Like myself, I transitioned when I was 8 years old. I began my transition at 8. And I am currently 26.
Okay.
So, for me personally, and, you know, I'm also white, so I do have my white privilege, and I do acknowledge that. And I also have friends who are trans women of color, and their experiences are a lot more difficult than my own.
Okay.
They have dealt with, sorry, I'm really nervous.
Oh, well, you know what? You can take
They
a
have-
deep, hold on. Tell me your name again.
I'm Eden Valentine.
Eden. Okay, so Eden, take a deep breath with me. Breathe in.
I'm just actually surprised I actually got through. I love your channel, and I love a lot of the work that you do. I think you're super amazing, so
Thank you.
So I actually didn't think I was going to get through.
Well, you got through, so breathe in with me, okay? Let me hear you inhale.
Okay.
And exhale.
So when it comes to
and exhale.
work.
Exhale, Eden. Exhale.
Mm-hmm.
Breathe in. Let me hear you breathe in with me, okay? And exhale.
So
Don't rush.
Okay,
Don't rush through it. Don't rush through it. Breathe in with me.
Okay.
And exhale.
So
And breathe in again. Come on, Eden. And exhale. So this time that we breathe in, I want you to control the breath coming out, and I want you to breathe out gracefully and peacefully and allow it to release, okay? So breathe in.
Okay.
And gracefully exhale.
Okay, I think I'm good now. So there is something that I have noticed with a lot of trans individuals, especially with, you know, the workforce. Women already have difficulties with getting better jobs. Black women have an even more difficult time getting good jobs. And then you have trans women who have passing privilege and they can get decent jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have those who don't have passing privilege and or are also of color. A lot of people they have this image or this ideal that trans women are sexually deviant creatures because we're often found a lot in sex work.
Right, of course.
But
and listen to what listen. So these are things that we know. The plight of a transgender person, let's just start with the transition. By the time you're 7, your subconscious mind is already formed. 7 through 9, your subconscious mind is already formed. So a person who is raised in maleness, even up to the age of 7, has already been indoctrinated into the ways of society and has already been regarded. Being born with a penis. Let's survey the audience. So the numbers are going to be 1. Oh no, actually I'm just going to ask for an age. So I'm going to ask the XX chromosome women out there, at what age do you remember being the first time that your parents told you to close your legs as you sat? What is the age that you remember the first time that your parents told you to close your legs? So I want to see those numbers come up, because even so much as being born with a penis, the body is regarded differently because there isn't that. So people are putting up 5, 4, 6, 7, 5 or 6. right? Being born with a penis and changing a pamper from a child who has a penis is a lot different than changing the pamper of a child who has a vagina, because there is there's a delicacy that is involved with a child. I mean, if you think about it, it's right there. They defecate in the pamper, they urinate in the pamper, and parents already get the sense that there's a delicacy that is involved in the female child, because the female child is the holder of the lantern. So even just so much as being a boy child at 3, you are socialized different. A 4-month-old is socialized different just from even the changing of the pamper. So when you say that, so you can acknowledge your white privilege, but you won't acknowledge your male privilege, the fact that you were never told to sit like a lady, the fact that that it was never indoctrinated into you that you have this vagina between your legs, that is this precious thing that you have to guard at all costs. You were a person who had testicles hanging down low outside of your body, and there's a different indoctrination that happens sociologically, and there is privilege that exists. First of all, even having the amount of testosterone that pumps through the male body, and when you have the testosterone and the privilege that comes along with that, it's a completely different thing. Do you feel that you are a woman?
Yes, I do. I feel that, but I do acknowledge my genetics. I tell people all the time, scientifically, biologically, yes, I am male, but that is not my identity.
Okay.
And I do acknowledge that, because the science, it does not lie. But it's how I walk through life. Now, I completely acknowledge the fact that a bio woman's experience is completely, I wouldn't say completely different from mine, but there are a lot of differences. But there is a lot that we can also connect on. A lot of the times women are victimized, and so are trans women, and we a lot of the times find comfort in a lot of the same things. And my question, I guess I have this question, is whenever you're talking about female spaces, exactly what do you mean by that?
Well, female spaces will mean different things to different people, but to me, a female space is even the side of a debate where women are debating, and then trans women come into the debate and feel that they should be able to contribute to the debate because they are trans women. Like, okay, and then there's Black Girls Rock. So there's an organization called Black Girls Rock, which was heavily criticized and called to task because a transgender group said that Black Girls Rock did not honor trans women, did not have any trans women on the platform, and didn't have trans girls on the platform. So there are physical women's spaces, there are theoretical women's spaces. That I was organizing a retreat called Women in the Wild, and there were 2 transgender people that wanted to come to the retreat because they feel that they're women. But one of the things that we were going to do on the retreat is a yoni steam. Another thing that we were doing is nakedness in the wilderness. And so there's so that's a female space. Black Girls Rock is a female space. Battered Women's Shelter. Someone called in the other day about a battered women's shelter in Canada that had their funding removed because a transgender group complained that trans women were not allowed to come to the battered women's shelter. So when you say that there are similarities, okay, there may be similarities, but I mean, there's overlap in many different areas. There's overlap between white people and Black people. We all get up and go to work, and we all do these same things. However, having a safe space for Black people to be able to discuss the things happening in the Black community is a lot different than opening it up for other people who may have similar experience, who are inherently privileged. I mean, there's a privilege in being able to transition or begin your transition early. There's a privilege, like you said, in being able to pass.
100% agree.
And there are similarities. However, there are things that are inherently, I think that there's a tremendous amount of disrespect and arrogance involved in stating that you are a thing which you could never really fully grasp the true meaning of that thing without also having biologically the physical components as well as the psychological components that come along with having those physical components. Because there is, from the moment that your parents find out that you're a female, and you have that first of all, girl babies are born with all of their eggs, and from the time that your parents realize that you're female, you are regarded in a different way. They did an experiment, it was in this documentary, where they dressed boy babies and girl babies in the opposite clothing. And they had people, because you can't tell the difference between a girl baby and a boy baby. They had people come in and play with the boy babies and play with what they thought were girl babies. And the way that they played with the children was different. People went for the trucks and they went for these types of things, and they began to develop the spatial part of the boys' minds with the different toys that they were playing with. And when they went to the girls, they were coddled and they were treated very preciously and delicately, a delicate way that they do not treat boy babies. And so even if a person transitions at 8, by the time that they're 8, the subconscious mind is already formed. And there are things that are inherent in that socialization that have already created a great portion of who it is that you will grow to be.
So I'm going to give you, a little more backstory. So I started my public transition at 8. Behind the scenes, growing up, my mother, we always did the whole hair, makeup thing. She always worked in salons, and ever since I could assert myself, which was about 18-ish months, it was always about the more feminine aspect, while also having a lot of male things pushed upon me, which once again, there are still a lot of things that, I would never experience as a bio-female. And once again, I do acknowledge that. But it's not like one day, within a short amount of time, that all of this just happened. It took a lot of time because, it was the 90s and early 2000s, and nobody really knew much about any of this back then.
Okay, well, you know what?
So
I want to keep the call short. We've been on for 15 minutes, and so we've gone 3 times the length that we would have preferably gone. I appreciate you calling in, and your point of view is important. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I hope you have a fantastic evening.
You too. And somebody is saying that I don't talk about female privilege. You're on the air live with Tonya. I would love for the person who feels that I don't talk about female privilege. I would love for the person to tell me how they feel female privilege relates to the conversation that we're having. Please tell me how female privilege relates to the transgender conversation. You're on the air live. I need you to turn down your computer.
I'm on the air live right now.
Yes, you are. You're talking to me. You hear me, right?
Oh, this is Tanya. Hi.
Yes, hi. What's your name?
Hi, my name is Pammy.
Hi, Tammy. So what is your comment this evening?
Well, my comment is really quick. I just want to let the transgender women know that the cis women, we're not against you. It's just that we are trying to understand where I thought that when you are a woman, it's because you had a womb. I'm not an evil person, and I grew up with transgender people back in my day, but we just never had all these labels for them. We just knew that they were, just not like we grew up with a woman we called Terry, but she was actually a man who dressed up in drag. And for all our life, we call her Terry, and God bless her soul. I'm not against them, but I just want them to understand that they will never truly understand what it means to be a woman, to have a period. I'm probably going to get beat up for that. To have fibroids, something that I have, and to go through all the emotional and hormonal changes that we go through. That's what I just want them to understand, because it's more than just putting on, you know, nice clothes and makeup and heels. It's just a completely different thing that we go through that they will never truly understand. And this is coming from a place of love and not from hate. It's just completely different. And I can never understand why they fight with us on something that we didn't even ask to be women. We were chosen to be women by who I call God. And I just want to understand, why do we always, I find that we always have this argument with the women who were born with a womb, and now the transgender women. That's all I wanted to say, but this is all coming out of love and trying to understand them.
Okay. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for calling in and giving your point of view.
All right. Well, thank you for this topic, and you have a great day.
You too, Tammy. Bye-bye. All right. And so, you know, people are asking about why. And I think that there's a portion of male privilege that comes along with that type of bullying that you all are talking about. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Nini.
Hi, Nini.
I just wanted to weigh in a little bit on what y'all was talking about.
Okay, let's hear it.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I feel like on the daily, you know, more people that are misogynistic are coming about, and sometimes I do feel like women as a whole, or even Black women, like they are blamed for things that, or situations that they're not even presented from. Even sometimes, even though I support and I believe in accepting all people, even sometimes by transgender people. Mm-hmm. I've had to deal with situations where, you know, due to, you know, past car accidents, I didn't have the strength to do things, but, you know, just because somebody was dressed up, you know, I guess in a feminine manner, they thought that they could fight me. But I had a hard time, you know, even picking up, you know, a coffee cup. And people would look at me and they're like, you know, what's wrong with you? Why can't you just toughen up? And I'm like, you know, I'm being myself. And sometimes you need the extra help, and you don't need somebody that, you know, wants to tell you, you know, what it's like to be a woman, or to tell you that, you know, you're just privileged, so you just acting like that. But you really, you know, you're just doing the best that you can.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, you know, I appreciate your point of view. And so you're saying that you were injured and someone tried to fight you.
Yeah, I've met some really great people, but I really do feel like sometimes people think that, you know, you're as long as you're a woman, you're gonna be privileged. But you know, you have to seriously be careful out here, because some women, you know, it comes in their DNA to not be able to keep up with certain stuff, or, you know, to not have the same physical strength as everybody else. And, okay, you know, I've had instances where, you know, grown, strong men, like, really, even if I'm not in no drama, like, they think it's okay to put their hands on a woman, or, you know, stuff like that. I don't know what it is, but it just seems like a hateful woman, like it's okay. And I don't agree with that. I think that if you're going to support all people, you know, do that and still be kind and considerate. Don't just make it about, you know, heels and makeup and stuff like that. Because, you know, the lady before me, she was right. It comes with a lot of pain and, you know, having to endure things physically just like any other human being.
I'm so confused. What are we talking about?
That's not what you were talking about. I'm sorry.
No, I'm confused. Are we talking about we're talking about transgender women entering into women's spaces?
Yes, that's actually really what I'm talking about.
But you talk about a man
I'm
trying to fight you.
I'm sorry?
You talk about a man trying to fight you, putting his hands on you.
Yes, I'm serious. I've actually like it didn't get to go that far, but I've seen instances, and I didn't used to think like that.
Dressed like a woman?
But you know, I started. Yes, just either some of them dress like women. Sometimes if they go to work, they're not dressed like women, but their mentality, like they think that, you know, it's okay to do that, and I'm like, no, you know what I mean? It's not okay, bruh. That's not cool, man.
Okay, all right. Well, you know what? Thank you so much for your input today. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I hope y'all understand.
All right.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. All right. So the phone lines are open. Feminine is saying black female. Oh, now it's going by so fast. Okay. There's a lot going on. Somebody said I'm high too, caller. All right. So, you know, there's a lot of documentation out there that says that trans women are not stronger than bio women because of the hormones that they take. This is what there are studies out there that say that trans women have the same strength as bio women. I don't know how many of us agree with that. Listen, you're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Oh my God, am I really on? My name's Mel.
Your name is what?
Mel, M-E-L, Mel.
Hi, Mel. What is your comment this evening? Did we come on too late? Is everybody out there high?
No, I'm not high at all.
Okay.
But I am up.
Okay.
I saw your last live on this.
The phone is really low. I need you to talk into the mouthpiece.
Can you hear me now?
Let me try to turn mine up. It's all the way up. So Mel, you got to talk louder.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we hear you now. Go ahead.
Perfect. Sorry about that. I saw your last live, and you know, this whole transgender thing, I have no problem with it as far as them having their own space, me having their own space. My problem is all of the verbiage. Every week it feels like there's new vocabulary to describe things that already exist.
Okay.
And I find that some of this terminology is already overlapping with things that already are going on.
Okay, be specific.
So it's like, I feel like they're reinventing the wheel all the time.
Oh, okay. So what are we talking about? Give me some examples.
Okay, for example, earlier on when you did your live, you discussed, someone called in and discussed being pansexual. And so when they were discussing being pansexual, I felt like, well, it kind of goes back into being gay, straight, or bi. If you are trans and you are dating a woman, wouldn't that be a lesbian relationship? Why does it have to venture into all of the other categories? Does that make sense?
Well, I think that this is my understanding of it, that that gender is fluid, and that there are many different people that fall on the spectrum of its fluidity. So from my understanding of pansexual is the person doesn't care what your gender, what your genitalia looks like. So they'll love you if you're. So wait a minute. What's the difference between pansexual and bisexual then? So I need someone to explain. I need someone to explain that to me, because I don't understand that. But there are people. You've asked the question. There are people who will explain it so that we can understand that. So don't worry. They'll come through. Because I know bisexual, they will date either But I think pansexual doesn't. I think pansexual includes transgender and all of the other stuff inside there. So like bisexual, you like either men or women at different times, right? But pansexual, I think you also like trans, intersex, gender queer,
Right.
gender nonconformist. Huh?
Wouldn't that take away from the argument of trans people in the sense that they're saying, I'm a woman, I'm a real woman, or I'm a real man, whatever may be the correct way to say that. Wouldn't that take away from it? Because then it would, do you see where I'm going with that?
Yeah, but you know, but see, so I understand what you're saying, and that's definitely a great argument, because there's some trans people who are pre-op, and also then there's some who are post-op. I think that a transgender person who is post-op may feel a little bit more aligned with the plight of the gender that they are post-op into. You know what I mean? So, you know, so like
Right.
a person who will like a woman with breast and a vagina, or a trans woman with breast and a penis, or those types of things. So I think it includes pre-op, post-op, that they really kind of love the person who is on what the energy on the inside, whether you're post-op, pre-op. But I don't know whether or not a pre-op transgender person will really truly consider themselves a woman if they have this lingy hanging down low and two balls swinging. I don't know if they'd be like, I'm a woman and I got this.
I think the problem for me, at least, with this whole transgender movement is I feel like sometimes the allies that they have out there are spewing information that is misaligned with what they want. And then I also feel like, again, the vocabulary is just, it gets broader and broader and broader, and it's adding to the confusion overall. And I felt like that is why I feel like so many people have an issue with getting with them, because it just gets a little bit crazy. It just feels a little bit overwhelming. If you want to learn what's right, what's wrong, there's so much vocabulary that I feel like overlaps. It's like a spelling bee test. I don't know.
And you know what? And I think that that's part of your privilege that's stopping you from being able to hear what other people are going through. Because in your privileged state of having your sex match your gender, you're like, oh, all of these terms are just too much. Me, on the other hand, I happen to disagree with you, because I think it's important to hear the different rainbow of places that people fall on the spectrum, because that actually brings more clarity. And I think that as people get to really learn and know themselves, that they get to say, well, you know what, this is the box that I fit in, or this is the category that I fit in. You know, because there are a lot of people out there who don't experience life as you experience it. And I think that they have a right to exist, and they have a right to be able to be acknowledged for their existence. And so this is why I say that transgender women are not women. They are something there's something special. They have a special journey, and I think it's actually belittling to them to try to force them to confine themselves to a category of woman when their journey is different than the journey of a woman. And so you're saying that there's too many terms, and I actually think that the terms actually help us be able to allow people. As a matter of fact, I wish that there were another gender term, so that they didn't have to feel like they had to choose one of two. If we had 4 gender terms and people could be like, I am this, and there were pronouns, because ideally what would exist is a society where people are honored for their unique experience and traversing through life. So that if a person was born male and they say, you know what, I feel it in my spirit that I am feminine, because being feminine and being a woman are different things. And so I just wish that there were a space for people to exist.
Yeah, which I absolutely agree. But it's not about hearing the plight of trans people and having the vocabulary to understand it. My thing is about, I want to understand what's being said. So I'm listening, I'm hearing, I'm going there. We want to be able to comprehend. And when I have these conversations with other people, it's leading to basically what you just said. It's deeper than them being able to be identified as women. They need to have something of their own. They need their own platform because it's still not leading to the mass understanding that they're craving.
Okay, well, you know what? Why don't we do this? If there are people, I know somebody inside of the audience knows. Are you on Facebook?
Yeah.
Okay, can somebody please post a Facebook group here that a person who wants to learn and understand and interact with people who are a part of LGBTQPIA, if there's a group that where people can go and have conversations and learn, that if you could post that inside of the room, that would be great. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. All right. I think it's important that we acknowledge different people's journeys. You know, we have the privilege of not having to have that fight in our lives, and I think that it's important that we acknowledge people who do and respect their right to occupy space. So you're on the air live with Tonya. What is your name? Hi, Stephanie. Your phone is so low we can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
It's really low, but can you all hear her?
1 second, let me see if I can put on my headset. I'm so sorry.
Okay. All right. So LGBTQPIA is lesbian, gay, trans, pansexual, intersexual, and asexual. LGBTQ, and then queer is on there. LGBTQPIA, so pansexual, intersex, and asexual. And I actually hung out with a guy who is asexual, and he told me that he was asexual and that he just really doesn't have the desire for any type of sexual activity whatsoever, but he will do it as a coming together with another human being, but he just doesn't feel those feelings. I mean, so there's a lot of different people out there, people that we interact with every day. So tell me your name again. Stephanie, did you say? Or Stacy? Hello?
Yeah, hello?
I'm so sorry, your phone is just not working. It's not working. Oh, you know what?
Can you hear me?
Hold on. Hold on, let me try to do this again. Let's try again, hold on. All right, say something now.
Hello? Yes?
Yes, now we hear you. Now we hear you. Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'm sorry.
Okay, it's okay. So go ahead.
Hi, I just caught the last bit, but I'm transgender myself, and I was just calling in, and I wound up getting some information from a friend of mine, and I was like, well, you should look at her videos. I guess they had seen your video from a prior time, and a lot of the stuff that I've been noticing is that a lot of people have a problem with is labels, like trans woman, cis woman, trans man, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry?
No, I said mm-hmm.
And so I find that a lot, like, or how can I explain it? It's well, I'll go to an example.
Mm-hmm.
A woman was talking about why does she feel like she has to have the word cis in front of woman? Why can't she just be a woman?
Mm-hmm.
And then another one of our friends had brought up well, why do I have to have trans before that? Why can't I just be a woman? And it got to what came to me was like, okay, well, what should be the word for a female energy? Because I think that is what everyone's trying to, or like how we have the word black, which kind of describes like all dark-skinned people, but not all dark-skinned people are the same. Like we have our own nationalities, we have our own languages,
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, we're all grouped up into one box. So I think that's kind of where the issue lies. It's like, okay, well, cis women, we want our, or they want their own box. Trans women, do they want their own box, or do they want to be like that? I feel like that's where a lot of the arguments come into. Me personally, I don't specifically identify myself as really much anything. I'm kind of still learning myself specifically, but I do fall under the transgender category. But I do have friends who are intersex.
Mm-hmm.
I do have friends who are transsexuals, and a lot of them even speak on like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna speak on third person, but my friend who's intersex, she falls under being a trans because her sex or her gender was changed when she was a baby, so she didn't really have the choice to kind of like say, okay, I want to be this, I want to be that. She was kind of just like thrown into that.
So when you say she had her gender changed, so her penis was cut off?
Yes. So her penis was cut off, and so she grew up as a woman, but inside her, she felt as if she was a male, but she didn't necessarily have the choice to do that, or I don't know if that's, if for lack of better words, but her body didn't have the choice to choose what it wanted to be.
Gotcha.
She just, okay, I want a male, or I want a female, so I'll cut it off, and you're a girl.
Got you. So now she's living as a male.
Yes. Or she's trying to live her life as that, but it's clearly it's complicated, but I don't know, I think people have the misconception that it's a choice all the time. Like, it's not necessary, because not everybody has that choice.
Yeah, no, so listen, as a person whose penis was chopped off as a baby, that's a completely different conversation. In terms of the trans conversation, so I think part of the issue is that there are a great number of trans women who feel that they don't need to have the word trans in front of woman, and that they have the same plight as women, so they should be regarded as women. And like, I was watching, somebody told me to watch the documentary Disclosure earlier today, and in the documentary, did you see the documentary Disclosure?
I didn't catch that one yet, no.
Okay, so
but I'm listening. Go ahead.
So in the documentary, there was a trans woman who was like, why should I have to disclose that I'm a trans woman? The fact that that there's this assumption of disclosure, just adds to the fact that that there's something different about me than women. And I'm like, yes, there is something different about you than a biological woman. And I think.
So does it fall under? Because I don't know, I kind of feel a little bit weird when it comes to that, because me specifically, I don't really necessarily feel like it's people's business other than the person that I'm dating. Like, if I'm getting a relationship with someone, then I'll have the conversation. But as far as like a day-to-day life, like, I don't feel like it should be like the sign above my head, this is a trans woman. You know what I'm saying? Because, for instance, it was an article about an actress who was going to play a role, but in the front they had, this trans woman is going to play this role. They wouldn't have, this cis woman is going to play this role. So it's like, why does that have to be like the main focus of all the attention?
And I think that's where the discord comes in. The discord comes in from people who are not biologically women, who are not scientifically women, who have had a very
aren't we all born female?
I'm sorry?
Aren't we all born female in the womb?
No, we're not. the chromosomes, every in the development of a fetus, every fetus develops as female until that
and with the Y chromosome,
until the Y.
it
Listen,
tends
a
to male.
fetus cannot exist on its own outside the womb. A fetus is an incomplete human being. Once the human being is finished developing, it is then time for the human being, under ideal circumstances, once it's finished developing. And can somebody Google this? At what stage in the fetus development is the genitalia formed? So excuse me. I don't want to put you on mute, which I've just had to do. If we're going to have a conversation, then we need to allow each other to talk. And so when you come on the phone and you say, oh, I feel that I'm a woman or whatever, but then the behaviors are that are very masculine, it becomes contradictory. Because it's like,
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Right. So it's like we have to have a conversation. And one of the things that I notice when I'm in conversation with males is that they talk over me. They don't allow me to speak. They cut me off, and they participate in this behavior that is inherently masculine.
Oh no, sweetie. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't hear you. That's why I'm trying to. It's not that at all.
Right. So I want somebody to just Google at what stage of development is between 10 and 16 weeks the genitalia begins developing. So human fetuses look like little pig fetuses when they're first developing. That doesn't mean that we're meant to be pigs when we come outside of the womb. When the chromosomes, when our DNA starts doing what the DNA is supposed to do, then we are formed into how it is that we are supposed to be formed, and then we're able to come out of the womb, because we're talking about genitalia being formed at 10 weeks.
So what about intersex people? They have kind of both. So I don't think can we even classify them, because they kind of break the spectrum?
Don't intersex people have a certain amount of chromosomes? I believe the chromosomes for an intersex person is X. I don't know what the chromosomes for an intersex person are, but this conversation isn't about intersex people. This conversation is about trans women, and just like we just had that little conversation.
And I know people who are intersex who fall under trans women, which is why I'm bringing it up.
Right. So, listen. If the transgender brain is different than the male brain and the female brain. A person who is developed as intersex is a person who has an XXY chromosome, I believe. A person whose penis is chopped off as a child, that person is I guess by circumstances. This is why they need to come up with a new term for that if there are that many people. But this conversation is really about trans women feeling as if they are owed being in women's spaces, feeling as if they do not have to disclose, and it's actually disrespectful to the trans person's experience. The trans person transitioned into being whichever gender it is that they felt the internal calling. But the science does not show that their chromosomes, their sex organs does not show that their organs are of the gender that they say that they identify with. So there is a completely different journey that a trans person goes on than a person who is biologically that gender or that sex.
No, I'm not quite sure about that, but I will agree to disagree.
Which part are you not sure about? You're not sure about whether or not a transgender person's journey is different than the journey of a girl to a woman?
No, because for me, growing up, I did not experience a male journey or a transgender journey. I grew up as a girl. So I know certain people who also grew up that way. So
were you born with testicles? Were you born with testicles?
I'm sorry?
Were you born with testicles?
I was also born intersex, but this is why I'm trying to have the conversation.
So you're intersex and you're calling in to talk on the transgender issue. Were you born with testicles?
Yes, yes,
You
correct.
were born with testicles. So you were born in such a
Yes.
way that you had sperm cells. You were born in such a way that you
Yes.
had testosterone pumping through you. And you made a transition when you were how old?
I want to say 19.
19 what? Months?
19 years old.
You were 19 years, you had a penis up until 19 years old?
Oh, I'm sorry. You said penis? No, I had a penis until I was about 6.
So,
when I fully started transitioning and when I was about 19, I'm sorry.
Okay. So you were socialized, so you're saying that you were not socialized as a boy?
No. Mm-mm.
So
I didn't even know the concept of what a trans person was.
You had a penis up until
intersex person was. I didn't know the concept.
I'm so sorry.
Of,
I'm trying to understand. You had a penis up until 6, or you had a penis up until 19?
I had a penis until 6. When I started fully transitioning, and I was 19.
So at 6, what happened to your penis?
It was surgically removed.
At the age of 6?
Yes.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that that was legal.
A lot of these cases happen when kids are young. And this is another thing that a lot of people, and this is why people don't know about it. It's not like a talk or a around the table discussion, because a lot of the times that children, I would say specifically, go through this is mostly when we're born. Like we're born and then the doctor asks you, okay, well, this is what it is. So do you either want a boy or do you want a girl? My family kind of wanted to give me the option, quote unquote, I should say, of what I wanted to be, or in my mother's term, she wanted to see how I was growing up before she decided to do anything. So
okay.
I was growing up as a girl.
At what age?
So
at what age did you get your period? At what age did you get your period?
I want to say around 13, 12.
And so you're saying
like I said, I did not know anything about anything. When I got my period, I didn't understand what was going on, so my mom had to explain it. I didn't know anything about nothing.
How old were you when your mother told you for the first time that you needed to sit with your legs closed?
I was about, she taught me that as a little girl. All my siblings, all my sisters. We were never supposed to sit with our legs open.
So you're saying that when you were born, your penis was damaged, but you still had your testicles remaining. And then when you became 6, your mother allowed you to make the decision to have your penis surgically removed and inverted into a vagina.
No, it wasn't necessarily, I don't want to put words in her mouth because I can't speak for her. She's going to speak for herself. But it was more of okay, this is what she's going up to. So I guess to kind of stop the confusion and to kind of like, I don't want to say normalize me, but kind of like put me into a category. Okay, it's a girl.
So you're saying that you have a uterus.
I'm sorry?
You're saying you have a uterus.
No.
How did you get your period without a uterus? I'm curious about this.
This is where it gets interesting. So, by me being intersex, my hormones fluctuated. So when I turned 12 and I started going through my hormones, I started bleeding.
What was bleeding?
I'm sorry?
What was bleeding?
Go ahead.
What was bleeding?
My vaginal area.
So you had uterine lining that was coming out, or you just had blood coming out of you? Was it uterine lining? Was it menses?
It was blood. It was blood.
So it was not menses. It was not uterine lining.
No, it was blood. it was straight blood.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in and sharing this story with us. We appreciate you taking the time to fill us in. Thank you. Okay. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Oh, hi.
Yeah, hi.
I would like to be referred to as anonymous.
Okay, Anonymous, you're on the air.
Okay, so basically, I just want to say that I really don't agree with trans women inserting themselves into this space intended for biological women.
Well, why not? We got people with no uterus who are having periods now. Why can't they? I mean, they got phantom periods coming out of mutilated vaginas. I don't know what the hell is going on out here. Why can't they, if they're getting periods from their intestines or whatever the hell is going on? Why can't they?
Well, I mean, I think if that was the topic of discussion for this video, that I would comment on it, but I really don't want to get off a topic. I'm not even sure where to start, and I honestly don't even know enough about intersex individuals to comment on it. I'm just going to go ahead and admit that right now. I don't want to misspeak on it, but also that is such a small percentage of the population and simply has nothing to do with this conversation that you wanted to start to try to, and it just, to me, I thought this was going to be a conversation that actually led to a solution. Instead of, there's just a lot of diversion away from the conversation and intellectual dishonesty. But if I may, can I go ahead and explain why I would disagree with it?
Sure.
Okay, so first of all, I think that, well, first of all, there are thousands of different spaces for people that identify thousands of different ways. So I'd say, if that's the case, let there be thousands of spaces. And I think there is a space for trans women. And
hold on. I'm sorry. I just need to address something in the comments. There is not a human being on earth who has a menstrual cycle who does not have a uterus. It's as simple as that. If you don't have a uterus, there's no uterine lining. We all know what menstruation is. Menses is the breakdown of the uterine lining where no implantation into the uterus occurs, and menses is not blood. It's a mixture of fluid and the uterine lining that was built there to be able to feed the attached embryo. If you do not have a uterus, you do not menstruate. It's as simple as that. If there's a person who's experiencing some sort of blood or phantom blood and all of that, listen, there are people without limbs that feel phantom limbs moving. So I cannot attest to anybody's state of mental health or wellness, but I know for a damn fact, and if there's anybody out there who's confused about it, you better go pick up a biology book. If you don't have a uterus, there's no uterine lining to break down at the end of every 28 days. And if there's something that is bleeding from your body, then you need to go see a doctor ASAP, because menses is about more than just having hormones. There has to be a uterus there for the uterine lining to break down from. So you could come here and you could puff up my ear with whatever it is that you want to puff up my ear with. But I'm going to tell you this right now: if there's no uterus, there ain't no menstruation. It's as simple as that. So go ahead. I'm sorry, dear. I just needed to clear that up.
No, I completely understand. So I was basically saying that there are spaces for trans women and there are spaces for biological women. And it's really absurd that I have to even speak to scientific facts. But when women or biological women, to be more specific, just like anyone else, our biology, our socialization, our experiences, how we identify, all these things work together to make us who we are. And when I'm telling someone that I am a woman and I want to be in a space for women, and I think that's okay, and I think it's okay that trans women have space for them. But when someone tells me, and I've gotten this from, I've heard this from men, trans women, and cis women alike, telling me that that doesn't matter. It's like, how are you going to tell me that my biology, which directly influences my life and how I'm treated and how I behave, doesn't matter? How are you going to tell me that my experiences don't matter?
Exactly. And you know what? That is the misogyny coming forward, where they're going to tell you that your experience doesn't matter, that they feel that their experience usurps yours. No, regardless of the fact that you don't have access to those hormones for a few months and then start seeing how everything unravels. Without the surgeries, start seeing how female you look. It's just, thank you so much for calling in and giving your point of view. We only have about 15 minutes left on this phone call, and I'm too heated right now. Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your call.
Yes, thank you for taking my call. Goodbye.
All right. Listen, there are a lot of people who want all different types of attention, and they take advantage of people who don't have the know-how or don't have the inside information to be able to call them out on it. But when there's a person who calls in and says that at 6 years old, their mother took them to have their penis chopped off, we all have to start wondering what the hell. And then talking about the finishing of the transition happened at 19. So at 6, you had your penis chopped off. So what, you just had no penis and 2 balls hanging down low till you were 19, and then your period was coming down in between the balls, but it wasn't a period, it was blood. Come on. Everybody who has their period, like, I don't want to go and give the education out there, because every woman who's had her period knows that it's not blood. You're on the air live. What's your name?
Hey, I would just like to say, as just as a gentleman calling, that I'm on the air?
Yes, you're on the air, and I'm sorry, I'm just vexed right now. I'm just vexed.
You are right now? I'm sorry.
I'm vexed. I'm just vexed. Go ahead, I'm upset.
Hold on. It's kind of going in and out, but anyway, I'll try to listen a little bit closely.
No, I said I'm listening to you. You're on the air live.
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you, sis. Thank you. Yeah, I just, this is a real, touchy subject. And so I would just say that, if you have a trans woman, for example, there are trans women that go to public restrooms and nobody can tell they're trans. So in a case like that, when a trans woman is in, wherever they are in their transition, whether it's, pre-op or post-op, if you can pass, then do your thing. But if you can't pass and you 6'9" and 300 pounds with big ass broad shoulders, like, that's going to be intimidating for anybody and for any woman. So, women should feel like they have a safe space to go to, Yes. And I'm not saying trans people don't have a right to.
I need you to just pause for a second. I need to address someone in the comments. Somebody says that they feel that Tonya is low-key attracted to trans men. I like masculinity. You goddamn right. I'm attracted to people who look like men. But then we also talk about gender intolerance. I am intolerant of people who have vaginas, and I do not want a vagina near me in any type of sexual way. So even if I'm attracted to a person that is presenting as male, once those legs open and a birdie is down there below, ain't no go. Ain't no go. Ain't no go. That's it. This is done right there. You can have all the beard and muscles you want, but when you split your legs, if there is a gash down below and you got some wetness down there, and it's not going to happen. I'm intolerant.
Is that where you draw the line?
I am what do you call it? Genital intolerant. I am intolerant of vaginas, and I don't want no problems with nobody. I don't want no problems. All I know is that you better have a penis down there. But by the time we get to that point, I'm already going to have my hand. I'm going to be feeling what the package is like before the big reveal anyway. And if I'm feeling that there ain't no package, it's going to be a goddamn problem. So yes, I'm attracted to people with muscles and beards and all of that. that, but you better have the shaft to go along with that. Don't come play no games with me. Listen, don't play no damn games with me, because I'm not licking any goddamn vaginas. I ain't doing it. So yes, I'm attracted to those who present as men, but I ain't licking no damn vagina. It's as simple as that. And I ain't sucking no titties either. And I ain't sharing maxi pads with nobody either. That's fine for people who want to do it, but I ain't doing it. And I damn sure ain't goddamn sharing maxi pads with a person who has a beard. I'm not doing it. I'm sorry. I'm not doing it. I'm not.
Okay. We get you.
All right. Sorry. You can go ahead and finish your sentence now.
Thank you, sis. Thank you. But no, I'm just saying, I've never seen I've never been in a woman's situation to where when a man that has a wig on and women's clothes walks into a restroom. I think that in cases like that, people should use and they should go places that are conducive to the type of environment that they need. If you're a trans person, there are plenty of restaurants that you can go to where the restroom says, it's got unisex, it's male and female, the door locks. Do your thing, but at the same time, if you're in a clothing store and I mean a lot of clothing stores don't have restrooms, but I'm just using the example. If you're in a clothing store, if you're in a clothing store, and there is a female restroom and a male restroom, and you have some 18-year-old, younger, youth that, let's say there's two biological males that they are expressing as females, and they're in a female store, and there's a female restroom, and they're trying on clothes, and they're feeling all, female, whatever, they're expressing as that. Well, I don't think that it's appropriate for them to go to the women's restroom. I don't.
Well, and that's why it's very important for people to have their own spaces. That's why that's important. So thank you so much for calling in.
All right, sis.
All right, bye-bye. And so there's a person in the audience who is trying to talk about, trying to shame me for being attracted to masculinity, when this person is most likely projecting his own attraction to trans women and perhaps even liking that thing hanging down low. Listen, we got the same attraction for things hanging down low, bruh. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Hi, I'm Belinda.
Hi, Belinda. Welcome.
I'm gonna keep it short because I know that the show
I'm sorry. Hold on for just 1 second, Belinda. People are talking about a strap. I'm sorry. When you listen, a person can use a strap on you. That's fine. But it doesn't take away from the fact that if you really want to have an intimate relationship with a person, you've got to participate in things that are also going to bring this person pleasure. And like I said, I am not licking on vagina. I don't care if they have a strap on. My mouth is not, no. There's some people who like that. I'm not, no. But there are women out there who they love to put in their face in bush, and I'm not interested in that. I am genital intolerant. I'm intolerant. Come on now. Sorry, Belinda. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. And sometimes you gotta get it out. You gotta let it out. And that's why I'm calling, because 2 years ago I was pregnant with my daughter, and that's when I really started noticing this repossession of words, and it really kind of hurt me because I couldn't be a pregnant woman. I had to be a pregnant person. I couldn't breastfeed my child. It had to be breastfeeding or some alternative form of womanhood. I don't have I'm sorry.
Who said this to you? Turn down your TV in the background so I can hear you better.
Oh, I'm so sorry. It was just when I went to the hospital, the things that you would see posted up.
Even getting on a bus where it
used to say, please give up this seat to pregnant women, handicapped persons, etc. It became pregnant persons. The way that they talk to you when you're in the doctor's office, it's like they really strive for this gender neutrality.
And it felt like it took something away from me. Like there was something, you know, like I couldn't be a woman because somebody else had to be a woman, and my experiences is not their experiences. So somehow I'm taking something away from them by being the woman that I am, you know, and it really irked me.
Yes.
I hear a lot of conversations. I'm sorry?
Yes. No, I'm saying yes. I hear you.
Yeah, I hear so many conversations. Not all women can have children. This is true. But what nobody addresses is that every woman is supposed to be able to have children. We're supposed to have periods. We're supposed to have these things. And I don't have a problem with there being communal spaces, but I feel like there has to be individual spaces, because we know when we're in the bathroom, you might have to change a pad. That sound when you're pulling it off the panty. You know, like there's all kinds of things and reasons why you may not want someone who is not biologically female in your space. And I'm not seeing a lot of tolerance towards the women that feel that way. You know, it comes across like you're being hateful, you're being transphobic, you're not being accepting. And it's like, okay, but why do I have to be these things? Why is it not okay for me to gravitate towards biology and science and experiences? Because all women do have some shared experiences that we do not share with men. And I've heard a lot of people saying it. And it's like, you know, to come across as being transphobic or against, you know, or trying to, my favorite phrase, erase someone. I'm just like, please, why can't we just have a binary? Because that's how language works. And nobody is taking anything away from you by defining what things are. You're different, but you're equal. And that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Well, you know what? Thank you so much. I appreciate your point of view.
Yes, thank you, lady.
All right.
Keep up the good.
Oops, it got cut off. Sorry about that. But I did hear you say keep up the good work. Thank you. Thank you. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Oh, hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry about that. This is Chris. Back to Chris. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey, listen. I think I might be the first transgender man to hopefully become president in 2024.
Okay.
Well, I started a website, drquistlord.wixsite.com/2024. So please check it out. But listen, what I wanted to say is that I think there's a bit of a conflating of issues going on. So, like, for instance, did you hear of that lady who wrote the Harry Potter? And they were trying to say that she was transphobic, and she wrote this transphobic manifesto. And I actually said I agreed with what she wrote, because what's happening is that there's something more going on. And I actually listened to this lady, I forgot her name, but Amelia or something. Well, she's actually a guy, but she calls herself a lady. Or, you know, she calls herself transgender, right? Okay. But what happened is that she was saying that that she's non-binary, but she also identifies as transgender woman. And so basically what that means to a lot of these activists, she actually called herself an activist. And what she says is that she believes that the binary is outdated, and that eventually what's going to happen is that you're going to have the conflation of the genders, whereby you don't have two genders anymore, or really any multiple genders. You just have one gender. And I think really they wanted to be more of a female-based gender, because if you're noticing, there's a trend of men who are engaging in gay sex, even though they're not attracted to men, but it's more like they're just led by lust. And there's also just a lot of crazy things going on these days, and also this push to unify. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's just this push to unify everyone. And of course, I'm like a Bible person, so I understand prophecy and why that's the case. Having to do with the Antichrist wanting to unify because he wants power and so forth. But anyway, the point is that there's something else going on here. So you have two sides, basically. You have the transgenders like myself who believes in the binary. I believe that you either are male or you're female. But then you have the transgenders out there, or transgender people who say, you know what? And these are the new age people. These are people who just started coming about and transforming the transgender community. And they actually say that they are activists. And a lot of them are non-binary, but not all of them are. but a lot of them are non-binary. What I mean is
How does this relate to the
non-binary
conversation? I'm getting lost. How does it relate to the convo that we're having?
So the point I'm trying to say is that, thank you for bringing me back. The point I'm trying to say is that there are men like this Amelia who actually like just rolls out of bed, puts on a dress, and will have his penis poking through his dress, won't put on a wig or makeup or actually like go through the steps of actually, living out life as a female, but he'll just be like, well, I feel like I'm a woman today, so let me just put on a dress, but then tomorrow, conveniently, all of a sudden he just feels like he's more of a man. And there's been more of a prevalence of that, both among women and men.
So what is your solution? What is your solution?
So, solution. I don't think there's any solution. I think that's exactly where society is going. I think that eventually what you're going to have is a unified gender where everyone's going to be one gender. As far as, for me, the solution is be raptured, go to heaven, because eventually the world is going to hell in a handbasket.
People will never be just one gender because there are people who have testicles that carry sperm, and there are people who have uterus that carry the eggs. So they'll never be just one gender.
That's what you think. And you're entitled to your opinion. But I'm letting you know that that's exactly where things will go. And mark my words, when it happens, you'll say, you know what, Chris told me this. Dr. Chris said this.
How, pray tell, do you think that there's going to become one gender? So what you're saying is that they're no longer going to be women or men, that everyone is going to be a hermaphrodite.
Right. I mean, everyone's going to identify with the same gender because you see, the world, think about it, it's globalization, right? So everything is all about us becoming one. There's not going to be a sovereignty among nations even, right? There's going to be all of us are just one united because if we're all together and if we can come together, we can build great things and we can just create the peaceful and safe future we really want. That's the ideal that people are driving towards. But, as far as I'm concerned, it's a fake peace and it's a fake safety. It's not real. The Bible warns against it. It's a fake love, right?
This is what I'll say. That even in the spirit realm, there are feminine energies and there are masculine energies. And so even if we were to return to the oneness, there's still, if we return to the oneness, then we are male and female in that oneness. But as long as we are broken off away from the oneness, there's male energy and female energy and variations in between. However, as long as we're human and we're going to be reproducing, somebody has to carry the children and somebody has to fertilize them.
Right, and they will do it, but they won't be like really taking on those traditional masculine roles versus feminine roles, right? So yeah, of course, if they are going to procreate, they will, but it'll be like, hey, the dad is the mom is the dad. It's like we're all kind of just in this together, and they believe that if they unify.
So listen, Dr. Chris is going to be running under the Republican Party, right?
Right.
All right. So they want to know which party you're running for. So I guess that they could.
I'm Republican.
So you're not gonna run on the birthday party because you sound like Nick Cannon when Nick Cannon was talking about everybody's gonna be beige, and in Nick Cannon's own. So listen, you're transgender. So in your so your desire or your prophecy is that we're all going to have one gender or not have this, that, and the other, but they're going to be people who are going to be like, look, I am a woman, and so there could be as many beige people as you want, but black people ain't going nowhere. There will always be black people.
Okay, but let me just say this. And hear me out. You're right. However, if I become president, if you guys decide that you want to make me president, one of the first things I'll do in office is give reparations to all black people who will stop calling themselves black and begin only referring themselves by the color of their skin. And let me tell you something. All they have to do is be American citizen and be brown skin and declare that they are no longer black. And I'm going to make sure they get reparations. And my plan is, but I don't know, we should have a study to find out exactly how much brown skin people should get. But I'm thinking $1 million over the course of 6 years per brown skin person, whether, basically whatever the cutoff day is, I'm thinking $1 million per brown skin person. Whenever that day the bill is signed, then that baby who was born that day could get it, and everyone born before that. But after that, no one else gets it. And my thing is that that's going to be $1 trillion.
People from India who have a child here, as long as the child is brown skin, they're going to get reparations from African chattel slavery.
No. I'm saying brown skin as far as that they have represented that their ancestors are, from slavery. So basically, you can prove it if you can prove, right, that's your ancestry.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for calling in. It was always amazing to have you. Thank you, Dr. Chris.
No problem. God bless.
All right, listen. You all are getting on my nerves this evening. I'm sorry. You all are getting on my doggone nerves. You all are getting on my nerves this evening. From the time that somebody told me that their mutilated penis was menstruating, I knew that I was done with you all. We're supposed to be having a serious conversation. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Hello, Tonya. This is Nadine calling. How are you?
Your name is Nadine?
Nadine, yes. I've called once 2 months ago.
Okay, hi Nadine. So come with it now.
Hi.
Now it's after midnight,
All
and
right.
I can already tell the craziness
Now is the time. Yeah. I know you're tired. I know you're mad. You're sweating. You're tired. You need to go.
Not
Okay,
sweating.
let me end this on a cute note.
Moist.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right. So, I am a gay person. Okay. I'm 24 years old. I just turned 24 years old. And when did I realize that I was gay? Well, I realized maybe around 13 or 12, but I was always staring at men real hard around maybe 7 years old. So I've had that attraction in me from a very young age. I just didn't know what it was. Okay. And by 17 years old, I went on a date with this girl. I thought I loved her. I thought I liked her. And we didn't do anything sexual. I've never even kissed a girl on the lips. Because I had, at the time, by 17, I thought I could be bisexual. I thought. Or maybe I tried to dump the gay and maybe be bi. Thank God that didn't go nowhere, because the girl left back to Korea. And I did not end up doing nothing with no coochie. And nowadays, by maybe 19, 20 years old, I know for sure that I am 100% gay and I'm not attracted to vagina.
Okay.
Yeah. So the reason I said all of that is gay men, okay, one thing, gay men are not attracted to, usually, the majority, I should say, we are not attracted to trans women. I do not want to feel no big old titties on my back. I don't want to feel long, wavy, gorgeous hair on my back. None of that.
Why would it be on your back? Oh, okay. All right. I think I got the picture.
Right,
I got the picture.
Yeah. During sex, yes. I don't want to feel no titties, because for a woman every time I think of a woman, I get a picture of my mother. It's just something pure about a woman that I just do not want to go and corrupt it. And it's just, for me as a gay person, I just can't look at a vajayjay. It's just, I just can't.
Well, you don't have to worry about that, because a pre-op trans person doesn't have a vagina, so you got the penis that you love.
Right, but the titties are there and the face looks feminine, and nails and all that. I can't, that looks too much close to a female.
So what is your
comment?
How does this relate to transgender? Go ahead, please.
All right, so this is related to transgender because a lot of like, why do transgender women always end up with these straight quote unquote men? Why is it always? Because gay men We want testosterone. We want that muscle. We want that sweat. That's why we always go to the gym. We want that sweat, that masculinity. Transgender woman is just, it's too close to a natural born, or AKA a cisgender woman. A cisgender woman is just simple, is whatever the doctor wrote on the birth certificate, that's what you identify with. That's what cisgender is.
Hold on.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Hold on. So are you calling in
Go
on
ahead.
my airwaves to tell me that because you're not attracted to a transgender woman, that person is a woman? Is that what you're doing?
That's what it feels like to gay men. That's what it feels like to gay men.
I don't see how this
Of course, there
relates
are some that can tolerate it.
Excuse me. Hello?
Go ahead.
I'm not really sure how a man's opinion of whether or not another XY chromosomer is a woman has any bearing in this conversation. So one XY chromosomer is looking at another XY chromosomer and saying because you have gotten a certain amount of surgeries or take a certain amount of hormones that you are a woman now. I don't really see how this relates, because in the world of gay male sex, ain't nobody in there getting pregnant. So I don't expect for you to have any appreciation for the uterus. So I want you to make this conversation make sense, please.
Right. All right. So here I go. I have full appreciation to the uterus, and the thing with the attraction towards transgender women is because they are too close to a woman. They look like a woman. If I'm a gay man, I like a gay man.
But a transgender woman is not a woman. So a transgender woman is a person who's had a lot of surgeries.
It's about the face too.
Right, but
it's about the whole body.
They've gotten surgeries and are taking hormones to be able to have those female-esque features. So what is the point?
Right. So when all that goes through and the hormones kick in and hormone blockers and all that, that is pretty much a female. And some females get their periods late. A lot of females can get pregnant. So pregnancy, I don't think pregnancy can be just boxed into the identifier.
You know something? I'm sorry. Please do not make me lose it on you on the phone this evening, because I'm confused as to why a person with a penis is calling in to help me define what female is. I don't see it. I don't see how you, in all of your male wisdom, are calling in to talk to a woman about what a woman is. Make this make sense, Nadine.
All right.
I want to know, how does your male opinion have any bearing in this conversation?
Because I'm on the LGBTQ spectrum.
Just because you're on the LGBTQ, you're a man. And part of the contention of this conversation is the fact that there are XY people, XY chromosomers, who take a bunch of hormones and then in their misogyny are trying to force their male opinion onto us, saying that they are women because they feel like women. And so now I have a person who has a doggone penis and his XY chromosomes coming onto my airwaves to tell me what he feels a woman is. Goddamn no. Not today, bro. Not today. Not today. I don't understand this. This better be a good phone call, because you all are getting on my last nerve this evening. I'm losing it tonight.
I know. I can see your frustration. Take a deep breath.
Now you sound like me. Let me do it. Come on, do it with me.
Yes.
Tell me when to exhale.
Exhale. Then exhale, yes. Because I'm going to stop watching you, because there's a lag, like in me talking to you and what I'm seeing. So I'm going to turn away from that. And what I want to say to you is, it's so funny. I was watching other people on YouTube, and I came across your channel, and I was like, oh, let me just see, because the other day I was watching a very popular YouTuber she was on a different YouTube show, and it was called something woman.
it was called,
Hold on for a second.
Being a Woman.
Yeah, hold on for a second.
What
There's
is
a person who is trying to mansplain me or whatever it is that they're doing in the comments. He was not saying that he doesn't like transgender men. He was saying that he doesn't like transgender women. That's what he was saying. He talked about breast on the back. That's what he was saying, and the femininity. So don't try to mansplain me. I was on the phone with him. I know what he said, and that's why. And it took me a long time before I lost it on him because I had to understand exactly what he was saying. So please spare me. I've already blocked one person tonight. I'm ready to block some more. No, I'm talking to people in the audience. Go ahead.
Oh. I'm like, wait, I feel you. I feel you. I am wondering, I truly feel like you never know, and it's just fact. Even if someone looks in the eye and says, I am telling you the truth, you still don't know. So I always take everything that people say with, like, you know, that old adage, with a grain of salt or whatever, because it could be telling the complete truth.
What are we talking about?
What's the terminology? I am a cisgender female. I was born in a female body. I've always felt like a girl. I went through a little tomboy phase when I was younger. I love men to pieces. I've had a child. I have a menstrual cycle, and when I meet transgender men and women, I bond with them on the level of, you're a human being, I'm a human being. Boom, there it is. I don't know what you really feel like on the inside. I don't know what they consider their definition of being a woman is. Because for me, being a woman, I remember being a little girl and knowing that, okay, at some point I'm going to get a menstrual cycle. My little boobs, you know, started to grow, and hormonal things started to happen. All of those things added into me being a girl. I went through a time in my life where, you know, I lost my hair. I lost my hair. And now I've been rocking like a short hairdo for a while, you know, every now and then toss and weave on. But my hair didn't define me and make me feel like a girl. I feel like a girl, whether I'm bald headed or I have, you know, long weave down to my butt. I don't know what transgender women, like, what is it, just because they like men and they want to wear dresses and they want to wear makeup and they want to have long hair, like, is that what they feel like being a woman is? Like, I don't know.
From what it is that I have learned from trans women, they feel as if they're born in the wrong body. There's this thing called gender dysphoria. They feel as if they were born in the wrong body. They have a feeling that something is not right, that they have this defect hanging out. That they have a defect hanging out between their legs, and that they need to get rid of it, et cetera, et cetera.
I just say, let people live, because honestly, I don't know what that would feel like. I have a vagina. I feel very comfortable with her. We've been through many adventures together. I've never had a penis. I don't know what it would feel like to be in a body, because I am in the right body for this energy, this spirit, this soul that is me, is feminine this time around. Okay. So I feel comfortable. So I feel like it's unfair to look at someone else and tell them, you're not uncomfortable in that body. You're just trying to, you know, it's the new world order or some crazy crap that all these religious people keep busting out with. They sound like people in the 50s
a person
saying
can feel uncomfortable in their body. They could feel that they're not in the right body. They could go through the motions to have their body altered. However, that still doesn't make them a woman or a man. It just makes them a person who transitioned. That's what it, and listen, yeah. I love people's journey, but listen, I'm going to let you jump off the line. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and I love your forum. Keep doing your deep breathing. You should have some crystals around you, girl, to help you process and release all this negative energy. You have a great evening.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.
All right. Somebody said they're supposed to be in Beyonce's body. Well, listen, if you could go and claim that you're Beyonce, and somebody will say they feel bad because they're the ones who told Nadine to call in. I don't know why you pumped that person up to call in to spew the stuff that he was on these lines spewing. Like, this whole conversation is about the XY chromosomers encroaching upon our space. And then also using that trope, oh, there's some women who can't get pregnant. Listen, I told a story in the beginning of this broadcast about a special being who was chosen as a keeper of the lamp, right? The space that women hold in terms of reproduction is a sacred space. It's a sacred space. And women are needed. We need a lot more women than we need men. Keep that in mind as this revolution starts to happen. We need a lot more women than we need men. So keep on playing. You're on the phone with Tonya. What's your name?
Hi, this is Ashley.
Hi, Ashley. What's your comment?
Tonya, I must say that I am a little triggered by a few things that were said. One from the young lady who said she was pregnant, and they were calling her the pregnant person or whatever. And then even by Nadine, who called. And as a woman, as a Black woman specifically, but as a woman, I do feel like we are consistently being colonized. They have colonized our land, they have colonized our culture, and now they are colonizing our femininity. And it is just exhausting.
It really is.
Exhausting.
It really is. But you know what? Don't worry. It's the rise of the feminine right now. Don't you worry. Because a lot of these people are going to be put into sperm camps. Mark my words. Keep going.
And I'm so thankful that you are speaking out on such a platform, because as women, we are consistently being broken down. And on this late night, when that man called in to tell us what a woman was, I mean, that to me, that is female. They're raping us. It's like, we can't be a woman. You have to pull my femininity, my identity, just to make you feel better. And then to say, in the comments or whatever, well, some women don't have, wombs and all these things. I agree with that young lady at first. I said, well, we were supposed to. And I will dare to say that a man with bum legs can still stand on his own, even if he falls. But that is different than a person who was born with no legs at all. So you cannot pull my femininity and pull who I am as a woman born this way just so you can feel good about yourself. And to be in the grand scheme of things, I don't think that women on a daily basis walk around hating on trans women. I mean, I want to be honest. It was the trans women who gave us the lace fronts. It's the trans women who taught us how to contour our makeup. There are a lot of things that come from that community that we need to honor. But it seems to me every time that I speak to a trans person about why they are trans, they say, well, when I was younger, I liked to wear dresses. Is that all that femininity is to you? Is that you like dresses and you like the color pink? Is that it? And then now as an adult, you pull from us who we are, our womanhood. It is just exhausting. And so, girl, I'm done. I'm tired of it.
I feel you. Listen, I feel you. And you know what? I don't know what a trans woman feels, but I can imagine that there is an internal, innate feeling that they feel feminine, and their interpretation of what that means. They're drawn towards, because people who are transgender, they know really early on in childhood. And somebody wants to know, what is a sperm camp? Listen, you know what the rise of the feminine, you just keep watching. Just keep watching. You'll find out what it is, because there's not going to be a use. Listen, in the Black community, only 21% of the Black men are getting married. They ain't building no roads. What are they doing? What are they doing? What are they doing? If every woman is not going to have a man, and you're not building roads and building buildings, then what is your maleness taking up space for? So when a woman needs some sperm, when she wants to have a baby, she'll go to a sperm camp. She'll go to a sperm camp, and then just listen, because as a matter of fact, listen. If these people are spreading their toxic misogyny, misogynoir, and their toxic masculinity all over the place, what is stopping us from just having? If every woman had a man, right, and everybody was going to go sit down and live happily ever after, that's one thing. But what's stopping them from being neutered?
Girl.
Listen. Dr. Chris, can you please stop spamming inside of my comments? I know that you're a friend of the show, but stop spamming in the comments. I understand that you say that you're running for president, but this is not the way. This is not the way to promote your brand. It's not. I've already deleted one of your comments. Continue with that, and then you're going to see what Upset Tonya does on the YouTube channel, and then you can just only catch me on Facebook. Keep doing it and see. I'm just going to give you one warning. That's it. I've already deleted one comment. I thought that you would have gotten a message there. Just keep doing it. Keep doing it. So so we're going to see what's going to happen in the future. Like, if these people are not going to make themselves useful, then what are they here for? That's what I want to know. If they're not going to make themselves useful, what are they here for? What are they doing? They're taking up space and spreading toxicity. So at some point, it's just like the earth. Listen, the earth is in the space that it's in right now because of the toxicity of men and the way that they have run roughshod over this planet, ravaging it. At one point, we're going to be like, rather than letting the planet go to dust, we're going to have to take these people and stop them from destroying the place. They're like children. Like children who are destroying, running wild around the house, running rampant everywhere. We're gonna have to start gathering them up, and just look. If they don't make themselves useful, let's see what'll happen. Go ahead. Listen, I'm gonna let you jump off the line. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you for having me. You be blessed.
All
Bye-bye.
All right. I'm talking about people with penises. People, listen, in every country where there's a patriarchy, if you want to see, listen, just look at how the countries with female leadership, how they handled the pandemic versus countries with male leadership. Look at where we are today. 150,000 people dead in the United States. We got the ozone layers depleted. Oceans are drying up. We got climate crisis upon us. And we got a whole bunch of decrepit old white men running this country into the ground. You're on the air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Mila.
Hi, Neela. What is your comment this evening? Because we're going to be getting out of here soon.
Right. So I feel like the thing that people aren't saying is like that trans women are trying to take over like womanhood and femininity.
Yes.
And it's like a part of, it's making it to be like an erasure of women.
Yes.
To where you're gonna have a space where it's like that it's not a natural woman. They don't even like when you say natural women. They would rather you say cis women versus trans. But I'm like, you know, like, why police the word women? You know what I mean? Like,
because they have a vested interest. Because they have a vested interest.
Say that again.
They have a vested interest.
A vested interest, right? And it feels like that vested interest is to get rid of women, and it just be, you know, not natural, but I don't want to sound insensitive, but you know, created women instead of it being a natural feminine woman. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to say that trans women can't be feminine, because of course they are feminine. They have femininity, but when it's the word of woman, which means, I have a womb, I can bear a child. Either if you can naturally bear a child or you have to have assistance, you still have, breasts that produce milk. You know what I'm saying? Like naturally, all these things make a woman a woman. And instead of them being like, okay, well, I want to take over this word woman because I'm a woman too. No, it's okay for you to have your own space to say, well, I'm not a woman per se. I am this. Whatever that this is for them, I feel like it should be women, men, XYZ for, people who feel outside of that, which is like a trans or non-binary or gender fluent or whatever. But they don't want to have it be like that. They want to be in with the women and compete with the women. So there's been, different Olympians, different
but
sports
you know what?
goers.
Let's think about it. Let's think about it, right? Do we see trans men fighting and volleying to get into sports against biological men? Do we see that? Do we see trans men fight? You don't, because they know that there's an inherent strength difference. They know that there's an inherent strength difference, right, even while they're taking testosterone. They know that, right? When it comes to trans women, it benefits trans women to align themselves into the women's movement and take over the women's movement. It benefits them too. But I don't see how it benefits biological women. I don't see how it benefits us.
It doesn't benefit biological women. It doesn't benefit them at all. And they fight so hard to, I am an ally as far as like where how you refer to people who identify as such. Like, I'm not going to refer to a trans woman as, a man. I'm not going to be disrespectful. I wouldn't do that. That's not my goal. But at the end of the day, I'm not going to say, okay, I'm going to put you at a pedestal higher than me. I'm going to lift you up and fight for your plight, when I know you're not going to fight for my plight, which is going to be equality in what I need as a woman. That's not right. I'm not going to give you the leg up to beat me as competition. That's not cool. And the only reason why they want to be in competition with women is because they want us to raise our children and see them as the same and raise our children as that, so they can go to our male child, our sons, and different things like that, and say, oh, okay, well, I'm a woman just like a cis woman, so therefore it's all fine. And it's going to mess up the minds of the children to where they're going to feel like, okay, well, it's whatever. But what if your child wants to have a family and wants to have a family the natural way and wants to have a family as far as like his lineage, but then he falls in love with a trans woman, but you have taught them how to be, so inclusive, and he can never bear that child with that trans woman. You see what I'm saying? Like, these things.
I think, you know what, Destin, I hear you. I honestly think it's a little bit deeper than that. I think it's a little deeper than just passing. Yeah. I think it's a little deeper than that. I think it is the encroaching upon female space and then the erasure of the issues that are nearest and dearest to them, because the moment that you can say, oh, I am this thing and I shall be regarded as such, then your agenda becomes supplanted onto the original agenda. Just like the Girl Scouts came under fire for not allowing trans girls into the Girl Scouts. you know. And so it's like,
Right.
and then just like Black Girls Rock, and how the organizers of Black Girls Rock were put on blast by a trans group who was saying that they didn't honor trans girls or have trans women on the platform. Like Always Maxi Pads, who has removed the female symbol from Always, saying that that not only women use maxi pads. And the
Right.
the female symbol, the circle with the line and the cross, that represents a uterus.
Yes.
So every person with a uterus has well, if you have a uterus and you're of childbearing ages, you bleed. Only people with uteruses have a menses, only have a menstrual cycle.
Right. Oh yeah, I was bleeding. But do you have a uterus? No, but I was bleeding. I'm like, what? Sorry. I didn't mean to piss you off, but I just had to laugh at that.
Exactly. You see what I'm saying? It's like the delusion of men, the delusion of socialized as men, the delusion. There's a delusion that comes along with feeling that because you say that you feel like a thing, that you are that thing because you say that you feel like it. Meanwhile, you have no earthly idea what that thing really feels like to be. You only have your idea of what it feels like to be that thing. Because what comes along with that thing is knowing that you are the keeper of the lantern, that you are the keeper of the passageway for every human being to come onto earth. And that you get socialized into knowing that you have that thing between your legs from very early on. And you will not socialize a person who does not give birth in the same way. You don't socialize people who do not have uteruses in the same way.
Exactly. You're more gentle with a female child, and then you're more rough with a male child, and they bring them up as that.
Exactly.
Like
let me do another survey. Let me do another survey in the audience.
Boys, that's just a boy being a boy.
Yes.
And then they raise the girls to play with dolls and different things like that.
And that's my next survey. That's my next survey right there. Ladies in the audience, at what age did your mother or grandmother start attempting to teach you how to keep house, to make your future family, to take care of your husband in the future, or take care of the children? At what age did they start socializing you into being a homemaker? I want to know. For me, I'd say it was around age 9. Around age 9, they said, oh, you need to know how to cook. You need to know how to clean and keep house. So we got 7, 5, 10, 5, 5, 6, 3, 5, 9, 8, never, 8. And then the numbers are continuing to pour in. And so it's like there's a socialization that occurs where you are the keeper of the womb. There's a socialization that occurs when you have the uterus and you are groomed to be able to give birth to children, that you are groomed to be able to pick a mate who is going to be able to take care of the children that you birth of his, that you are groomed to protect that which is between your legs.
And those things are different from a person that is, being brought up in their mind. They feel like they're in the wrong, body or whatever. But like you said, they're still being, raised as such. I can't speak for other people in their families or whatever, how they raise their children. But I would think that if you have, a boy child, you wouldn't start grooming them to be a trans person at a very young age. You know what I mean?
There's
like
a person.
ages of like
There's a person who says that they were
between
4.
2 and 5. You're not going to do that.
There's a person who says that they were 4 and their mother was already grooming them to give birth to children at the age of 4. and how to take care of house at the age of 4. So I asked the question to women, and a trans person is answering, because this is what I'm saying. This is part of it right there. The encroaching upon the space. Because there's, you know what, and I'm going to say this, there's something about this conversation that has made it very aware to me that there is a mental unwellness that exists with people who have gender dysphoria, and it's inherent in the dysphoria. The fact that you have dysphoria, the fact that you feel that you were born with your body as a birth defect, right? That there's a portion of mental unwellness that exists there. So much so that there are people who are living these fantasy lives, that they're living these fantasy lives, right? And they're pretending as if when they were, somebody, who was the person who called in and said that they started the transition at 18 months old? The fuck? You started the transition at 18 months old. And so it's like before you could speak, your mother started transitioning you. Before you could express to your mother what transgenderism is, because the 18-month-old can't speak, that your mother began to transition her son at the age of 18 months. And I believe that there is a mental unwellness that exists that has people calling up, distorting. Because I guarantee you, let me talk to that mother. Let me get that mother on the line. You calling in saying that your mother began to transition you at 18 months. Let your mother call in. Let me say this. Let me say this to the people. To the person who said that your mother began to transition you at 18 months old, please, we can do another broadcast and you can have your mother call in, or the person I guess that you're going to claim is your mother. Let's get on video then. You know what? Let's get on video. Have your mother put her face out there and say that she began to transition you at 18 months old. The person who says that the mother chopped off their penis at 6, let your mother come on camera and say this, that your mother took you to a doctor who chopped off, who removed, castrated you at the age of 6. It's like, are people hearing what they're saying? At the age of 6. At the age of 6. And Divine is saying, who is your mother? Gabrielle Union. Now listen, Divine, do not get me wrong. Do not get me wrong, because I have a transgender child in my family. And the most loving thing that you can do for a transgender child is that if your child is expressing that they feel as if they are born in the wrong body, the most loving thing that you can do is make sure that your child has psychological support, psychological assistance, and that you have the psychological support and assistance to be able to assist your transgender child. Because forcing your transgender child to identify as a gender that they feel vehemently against, that right there can be the abuse right there. Trying to force a person who feels like a boy, trying to force them into dresses for holiday photos. That right there could be the abuse. Exactly. So when Gabrielle Union is honoring the 12-year-old, at 12, a person can communicate. 18 months, they cannot. At 12, a person can express to you what is going on and what is it that they're feeling, and you can go Google it and you can get some psychological support. But people who are saying that their parents started transitioning them at 18 months, 4 years old and stuff like that, this is problematic to me. And I want to see the doctor who chopped off a perfectly good penis of a 6-year-old, who chopped it off. You haven't even finished growing. I want to see the doctor. Which hospital did you go to have this done? What's the doctor's name? Because I can't imagine that there's anybody out there who could keep their license like that.
Like, I was thinking that they wouldn't do that until the person is, like, past puberty, or at least reach, a certain age of puberty, because the genitalia area is not developed.
You know what? And listen, I can understand why if you have a transgender child who is approaching puberty and you have to start making those decisions about whether or not your child is going to go onto hormones, that's one thing. Hormones can be reversed. You castrate your child when a child is talking about something with a child's mind. Now, your child may have the idea that, listen, I was born in the wrong body, I have gender dysphoria. But to take your minor child and have your minor child mutilated irreversibly, when there's a certain number of so like when it comes to transgender people, this is one thing that I've learned from speaking with transgender people, right? Is that they weren't really sure whether or not they were gay, butch, or what. They had to experiment with different things. There are some people who transition and then detransition. It's a thing on YouTube. Look it up. It's a thing.
Right.
They transition and then they detransition.
That.
You take your 6-year-old and get your 6-year-old butchered and mutilated by a doctor having their perfectly good penis chopped off. There's no reversing that. And you're using the idea of a minor child. So Gabrielle Union's the child who I forget the child's name, who is transgender. They've not gone through any surgery. They're just living their life. They're wearing colors that they like wearing. They're wearing clothes that they like wearing. And I have no issue with a child being able to express themselves in the clothing that they feel most comfortable in. There's some children that are going to feel more comfortable in flannel. There are other children that are going to feel more comfortable in lace. And so I think that it's important for parents to allow children to express themselves how they feel comfortable expressing themselves in their clothing. It's we adults who make a big deal about clothing. Now, when it comes to gender labels and sex labels, that's when things start to get a little dicey. Does a transgender person have the right to exist? Of course. Does a transgender person deserve to be able to live a life without violence inflicted upon them? Of course. A transgender person has a right to be able to become employed, to live to the fullest ability of their life, to be able to not be discriminated against and have equality of opportunity. They have that right. Do they have the right to say that they are a woman? They don't have that right. They don't have that privilege. And people talk about, why don't you talk about female privilege? Yes, having a uterus is a privilege. Being born female, there's a privilege that exists in that. There's privilege that exists in having a gender that is in a line with the sex that you were born with. There's privilege in that. And there's nothing wrong with another person's journey. If you were born with a penis, and you have gone through the brave journey to say, you know what, this is who I am, and you've gone through that journey deserves recognition. Why should you force yourself to fit into the binary constructs of male and female? That does not honor your path. Listen, being born in a body that you feel dysphoria for, that was not a mistake. So then why pretend as if that part of your life never happened?
Honey, I'm gonna ask you this. I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead, Mama.
So I don't understand how, like, you can just have two genders. It's just male and female, but the whole LGBTQIA is such a broad spectrum. But then you're gonna say, okay, well, I'm an LGBTQIA member, but I'm only either male or female. I feel like that should be broadened as well.
I think it should be brought into it. I think that it's a lack of creativity. When a transgender person says, right, I am a man or a woman, it's a lack of creativity. It's a denial of your journey. It is denying where it is that you came from. It's denying the path that you took to get to where it is that you are. And it's showing a lack of creativity. And it's also, how self-loving is it to deny the fact that you went through this journey? There's nothing wrong with that. And I wish that we could get to the point. Where people can express themselves. So listen, Ma, I'm going to let you get off the line, okay? Thank you for calling in.
Thank you as well. Have a great night.
All right. All right. So listen, we're going to be getting off of here in the next 15 minutes. So I may take one more phone call and then just give the closing. air live with Tonya. What's your name?
Peace and blessings. My name is Raheem. How you doing, Tonya?
Hi, Raheem. How can we help you?
Wow, I'm looking at your. You know what? This whole thing. First of all, there is no such thing as a trans woman. Okay. There is man and female. It is natural to be a man. It is natural to be a female. You see, if this wasn't going on, you wouldn't have to have your show, because it's basically very, very confusing. They are confused. And it was clinically said that they were confused, messed up in the head by doctors in the 70s. I don't know if you read about that. You know, I don't know if you read about that, but study up on it. And it's being forced upon us. We are dealing with so much nonsense. We got COVID-19 going.
Yeah, but you know what? Let me just stop you right there, Raheem, because I think that for the people who, so from what it is that I've learned, I think only less than 4% of the population is transgender. Less than 4%. So we are the dominant class of people. People who are not transgender are the dominant class. And so one of the things that we must do as the dominant class is make sure that there is a space for the minority class. That we can't just think that it's all about us and how we see the world. How we do need to find a way to work together. But to say that there's no such thing as a trans woman, now you may not agree with the terminology, maybe you don't like the term trans woman. However, the science shows that a transgender brain is different than a male brain and different than a female brain. The female brain has lots of gray matter, and then the cortical lining is a lot thicker. Language develops a lot earlier in girls. The intuitive center is a lot larger in girls. The hypothalamus is different. It's twice as large as the hypothalamus in the male brain. And so there are scientific studies that show that the transgender brain is different than the male brain and the female brain. So something is going on. Why should we pretend as if something is not going on rather than making some space for people who are different than us? Even if you don't feel it, you can acknowledge that other people feel it. Other people feel it. And their existence. So I understand that you say that it's nonsense, that, oh, there's COVID, who has the time for this? But for you, it's something superfluous. For them, this is their whole life. This is their life.
Right. Hold on. Right. Okay. If there's something wrong, right, instead of saying, well, I'm this, why isn't people going to the doctors or trying to figure this out? You talking about the brain is this and that, and okay, cool. But there's something wrong. There's a defect. I think you even said it yourself. The doctors know this. I said there was tests done, and they said this in the 70s. Okay, we cannot see, it's being forced upon them, and you're right about the 4%. And see, you know, when we say something, oh, they're attackers. They said the F word or something like that, and then we gotta apologize. Okay, cool, but there is something wrong, and they're not going to get help. They're just falling into this, if I'm gay or this or that or this or that.
What? Listen,
now,
Raheem.
but check this out.
Raheem.
But hold on. You got the whole show. I'm just calling it, right? But what I'm seeing also is a lot of women is hanging out with them, okay, and chilling with them, and they go with them. Now, see, you're like a different breed. You're not like, boom, I'm right there. They hang out together.
I
And
need,
they're
listen,
part of
I'm
the
sorry.
problem.
Listen. I need you to be very concise with your thoughts. I need you to be very determined with your words, okay? I need you to really get to the point of what it is that you're saying so that we can get to the crux of it. You're saying that something is wrong, why that something happened in the 70s. Transgender people existed long before the 1970s. There were in Native American culture, before there were these westernized doctors, transgender people were called two spirits, and they were people who were revered in the Native American culture. So I'm not exactly sure why we're trying to say that doctors in the 70s did something and it's being forced upon us. And listen, I do believe that it does need to be forced. I believe that it needs to be forced, because if transgender people sit quietly, they can be ignored. I believe that they have to force their voices to be heard. Otherwise, we will dismiss them and we won't hear them because we are the majority. So of course, anything that is breaking out of the ordinary, when a seed is in the ground, it has to force its way through the dirt. So whenever a new idea or ideology is being birthed, it has to be forced. It has to force its way out.
Well, hold on. You just said this has been going on, right? It's not a new ideology then. It's not.
It's not a new ideology.
Hold on. Let me show you something. Example. Hold on. If you ever read the Bible or the Quran or other books like the Vedas or the Puranas or those type of books, when you read, let's say Sodom and Gomorrah, and let's say Lot told.
I'm not interested in any Bible fantasy stories. I'm not interested.
No. I'm giving an example hypothetically. If you don't believe in that, they tried to force. He said, "I'll give you my daughters," and what they said, "No, we don't want your daughters. We want those two men."
Listen, the Bible is a fantasy. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you. All right, so listen, we're going to take one last phone call and then I'm turning off the phone lines. I would like for whoever, listen, be very concise with your words and let's get to it. You're on the air live with Tonya.
Hi, Tonya. I was completely confused with the last caller, but I was just calling in to say, yes, we as biological women need our own spaces, and this simply just because of the stories that were told by trans women when they called in. Those stories we cannot relate to. I don't know what it feels like to have my stuff cut off. I don't know what it feels like to transition. I don't know what it feels like to be in a different body. And I completely understand their journey, but they need to have their own space so they can tell each other those stories. Just like we call in on your show and we talk to you about our womanhood and things of that nature. What are they going to gain from being in a community that doesn't understand this?
Well, being able to get the privileges of that community. Being a woman is an amazing effing experience. We're beautiful, right. we're curvy, we're fatty and silky and dewy, and we are the gatekeepers of life. Who wouldn't want to be associated with that? Who wouldn't? If I wasn't a woman, I'd want to be a woman too.
Yeah, when you put it that way, then it makes perfect sense. But
because it makes
we're talking about the topic, which is, do they need their own space?
They do.
Yes.
But it's understandable why they want to be in ours, because we have already carved out our space. Our space has been here since the beginning of time, and we have made it a wonderful experience being a woman, you know? And from what it is to listen, without the surgeries and all that other stuff, a man is not going to be attracted to a being that doesn't have the hourglass shape. Men are most attracted to beings that heterosexual men are most attracted to beings that exhibit the signs of having gone through the female transition of puberty, which is greater waist to hip ratio. So of course they get the surgeries and stuff to make themselves more female looking and more because you could feel like a woman, but then you have to go under the knife and risk your life and get all of these surgeries.
Yeah, I can understand. I also know someone that actually started transitioning and then detransitioning.
Why did they detransition?
Just stopped taking the hormones and
Why did they detransition?
They started to transition as soon as they turned 18, and when they went to college and started finding themselves, they realized they truly didn't want to become a woman. They realized that they were just gay. And I mean, that might not be everybody's situation, but I'm just saying that was that situation.
Right.
So, and we were very close. We worked together, and you're at work more than you're at home. So we talk and talk and talk. And when she went away to college, we still were in communication.
Yeah.
And
you know what? I'm gonna have to let you go because we only have 5 more minutes left to the show, so I need to give my closing.
Alrighty.
All right. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you.
Bye. Thank
you.
Bye.
All right. So, listen, I have learned so much from this conversation. I've learned a lot. And I've learned that even though people, so there is a difference in behavior. There is an inherent difference in behavior between the way that people who have been socialized a certain way come in on the phones. There's a difference in behavior. Like there are people who are like, oh, I'm a woman, but they exhibit very masculine characteristics of over talking people, cutting them off, mansplaining to them, not allowing them to speak. And it's like, you have an idea of what female is. You have an idea of what woman is, but you don't have the biological makeup that has the brain of a woman with the parts of the brain and the genetic the genetic evolution that makes women more cooperative than competitive, right? And so it's like you can think that you know what a thing is, but that's your arrogance making you feel that you think that you know what a thing is because of what exists on the outside. There is a psychological connection, there is a spiritual connection that a woman has to her womb. It's a part of who it is that you are as woman. And so it's like you can think that you know what a thing is, but you can really only pantomime it. You cannot be a thing that you do not have the biological structure to be. And whether or not, so I've been here, so listen, I've heard about the energy of the fallopian tubes and the connection that the ovaries and the fallopian tubes has to the universe. I've heard about that. Right? That it's an antenna of sorts, and that being a woman is a very sacred person to be. And so, no, you don't get to come in without the biology of woman. You don't get to come in having been born with testicles and a penis and socialize as a boy and then make your transition and with none of the biological markers of being female, with none of the biological markers of being a woman, automatically say, oh, I'm a woman because I feel like one, when you don't really know the half. And it's in your male arrogance, in your misogyny, that you don't feel that the uterus matters. We talked about this in the last conversation that we had about it, that a trans man goes to a man and say, I'm a man, and he's be like, where's your dick? You got no dick. But we respect penis so much more than we respect uterus, when uterus is integral to the bringing forth of human life. We need less penises than we need uteruses, because the uterus is the incubation chamber for all human beings. And the uterus deserves respect. The uterus deserves respect. And listen, we are at the 1 minute mark. I thank all of you for calling in. I thank everybody who called in, even the people that we argued with. I thank all of you. Listen, I'll say this. I remember when I was hanging out with a trans man. Now listen, it's very confusing when you see a person up close and you see all of the markings of masculinity, but you know that person has a little gash down between their legs, right? It's like, it's confusing. It's like, it's a mind F, right? And when I hung out with this trans man, there were behaviors that this person exhibited that were very female. Like, I know men because I've dated men. And there's some things that men just don't really do, like being bitchy and stuff. Men just not bitchy. Not heterosexual men. They're not bitchy. They're not arguing with you and acting all erratic and all, because a man, listen, there are things that the male person is tasked with when coming into contact with a woman. You get socialized very early on to know that you are stronger. You get socialized very early on to know that you are the protector of women. You protect girls. You get socialized to know that you have to control your strength. You have to control your temper. You don't see heterosexual men getting all bitchy with women. You don't see it. So though this transgender man feels, oh, I am a man, you don't really know what it is like to truly be a man, because there's responsibility that comes along with the penis. There's responsibility that comes along with using a part of your body to bring another person's pleasure. There's a responsibility that comes along with being the person that fertilizes human life. There's a responsibility that comes along with that. So it's like, because a woman's orgasm is not tied to impregnation. I don't think that's the right word. Impregnation. A woman's orgasm is not life producing. There's a cycle that a woman is on where the egg travels from the fallopian tube and it goes down a journey. So whether she climaxes or not, that egg is still going to go down the journey. A man's climax is directly tied to fertilization. There's a responsibility that comes with a man's climax when a man is climaxing into a woman, into a womb holder. There's a responsibility that comes along with that. And I think that when people don't give respect to the other genders, we have things like a trans woman going into an MMA fight with a biological woman and cracking her cranium. Because this person is like, oh, I'm a woman. I'm trans. I feel like a woman. And then you go in and you pulverize a biological woman. You crack her cranium. And she leaves that match on a goddamn stretcher. Because a person who was born male, who however it is, in whatever psychosis exists inside of their mind, they felt that there was no difference between them and the bio female. So they went in there and cracked her cranium, and she had to be carried out on a damn stretcher from the match. So it's in this person's arrogance that they say, oh, well, I'm a woman. I should be able to do this. I should be able to get into the ring with this woman. What's the difference? Even though I'm 6'4", because the gatekeepers of life, women, the world that you see as it is today has been created by the choices of women. Women decided that they liked men who were 33% larger than they were. And so they mated with men who were larger and didn't mate with the men who were smaller. So now on average, men are 33% larger. And a man, even of the same size, will still be 33% stronger than that woman. And I think what ends up happening is we have all of this confusion. Where trans women who were born XY men, who were born boys, they feel that they have this feeling that, oh, I'm a woman. Meanwhile, they haven't been taught to respect the bodies of women, to respect the fragility of women. They just always thought, well, I'm a woman too. So they haven't been taught their place as a person who is physically, biologically stronger than that other person. And so they feel that they could go into situations where they can compete against and beat up on women. and nobody can tell them anything. Oh, I'm a woman too. And then you stand up there and you want to get into a fist fight with a biological woman. And I just, and there's something inherently wrong with that. There's something inherently wrong. There's something inherently wrong. And I think that we've lost the boundaries. I think we've lost the boundaries where, and you know what, and I don't think that people do it to be mean. I don't think that XY chromosomers do it to be mean. I think that there is really truly a part of them on the inside that truly, really desires and wishes that they were a woman. But they know that they're physically stronger than, and then they'll make up their excuses. Oh, well, I don't really work out. You know, I'm scrawny. I'm not really that athletic anyway. But the muscle fibers are different. The muscle fibers are different. But you don't give respect to your maleness. You don't give respect to your maleness. You don't give respect to your maleness. And then you enter into these situations where you don't respect a person's femaleness. And there's no instinct inside of you to protect women because you feel that you are a woman. And this is where it becomes dangerous, where people feel that they are entitled to the space of biological women because they have the feeling on the inside that they're a woman. I feel like I'm a woman, so therefore I'm entitled to the space that has been relegated for biological women. And the skeletal system is different. The brain is different. The hormones that are naturally pumped through are different. And it's like, it matters. Let me ask the women out there. I'm gonna ask the women out there a question. Okay. If there was something that happened to you and you had to take a cocktail of hormones to be able to stay feminine, and you knew that if you stopped taking those cocktail of hormones that you would start to grow a beard, your voice would deepen, and you would begin to become quite masculine. You could start secreting testosterone and all these other things. So the survey number is going to be 3 and 4, right? So 3 and 4, all right? If you knew that for the rest of your life you had to be on these hormones, and if you stopped taking these hormones that you would start to become very masculine, do you think that it would be your duty when going into a dating situation, do you think that it would be your duty to let a man know, well, listen, you know, there's some hormones that I have to stay on, right? That, listen, something happened to me, there's some hormones I have to stay on. If you feel that would be your duty to have to tell a man, put up the number 3. If you don't feel that you would need to tell, put up the number 5. I want to hear. 3 if you feel that you would need to tell. I'm sorry, 3 and 4. 3 if you feel that you would need to tell. 4 if you don't feel that you would need to disclose that. If you're just like, oh, I'll just, you know, I just want to know. I want to know from your point of view. So most of the numbers that are coming in are 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. 3, 3, 3. Okay. All right. And S is saying 4. I don't want it to be awkward. So everybody else has said 3. Because I thought about this. Because I thought, okay, well, you know, a trans woman looks like a woman, you know, with all of the surgeries and everything, the ones who are passable, right? They look like a woman, so what's the big deal, right? But if you know as a human being that if you stop taking your hormonal cocktail, that you're going to become very masculine, I would think that would be something that you would need to disclose to your partner and let them know that, look, these are some hormones that you're going to have to keep up. Otherwise, it is going to be a hairy situation, literally and figuratively, right? If something happened to you and you were damaged in some sort of way, that you didn't naturally produce female hormones and you were going to grow a beard and stuff like that. And so Ralph is asking how soon? How soon, right? And you know what? That's you know what? I guess it depends. It depends on the person. It depends on how. That's why I asked the question to see how soon do you tell. And so I'll ask you all the question: how soon would you tell a potential mate? Would you tell them once you start getting serious with them, etc.? I want to know, how soon would you tell them? 3rd date, 1st date, 10th date. Somebody's saying when I'm ready. And now listen, I can understand why a person would be like, this is not everybody's business. You know, I had this accident or whatnot, right? Somebody's saying 2nd or 3rd date, 1st date. So they should be honest during the first encounter. Now, let's couple onto that that you are sterile, that you have no womb in your body. So I see. So part of the issue is you have no womb. You have to be on this hormonal cocktail. So not only are you already coming into the situation without a womb, but you're on a cocktail that suppresses your natural nature. Because your natural biological nature is to revert to that of maleness. So you have no womb, and your natural nature is to be masculine, to have the deep voice, to have the hair growing on your face. And so as a biological woman, if there was some sort of accident that happened to you where you start growing a beard if you're not taking these hormones or become very masculine, there would be a desire inside of you to tell a partner, right? And to tell them pretty early on. However, I think part of the issue is that a man inherently knows, if I'm with a transgender person, the natural nature of this transgender person is to secrete testosterone. And when that testosterone gets a hold of their ass, hair starts to grow, voice begins to deepen, and aggression begins to mount. And that may not be something that you want to deal with. I mean, everything is going fine and dandy, but let us come to a situation in our country where the pharmacies are not working. And what the hell do you have on your hands then at that point? What do you have on your hands? If there's something happens to the pharmacies and they can't get their cocktail, if something happens to their job or whatever, or if the manufacturer, or if there's some sort of slip up. And Tanya Bailey's saying there's a league of men who love men, and that's fine. But the ones who don't, the ones who want to be with femininity. So listen, I have natural, a bio woman has the thyroid that is secreting different hormones through your body to keep your hormones regulated, etc. Or the thyroid is regulating the different parts of your body that are going to secrete hormones naturally, right? Naturally. And so somebody is saying, I don't accept non-disclosure as an excuse for murder or assault. No, absolutely. Nobody should be assaulted and no one should be murdered. However, if you watch that show Snapped, you know that there are situations where people are in a state of overwhelm where they snap. Why put yourself in a situation that could be potentially dangerous? It's like it may not be a big deal to you, like these people who are calling in, something's not a big deal to them, but it may be a big deal to somebody else. So why put yourself in a potentially dangerous situation because you don't think that it's a big deal? You know that other people do think it's a big deal. Because at the end of the day, you may present as woman, but when all is said and done, if those hormones get taken away, you will present as man. There's a lot of things that transgender people do in order to be able to look feminine. And those things are not to be disregarded. A male cannot have a womb transplant. It just doesn't have the biological setup to be able to support it. And then also be able to produce breast milk as well. You just don't have the biological setup. There was a case of a womb transplant in a woman And from what it is that I heard, the birth went successfully, but not a womb transplant into a male person. You just don't have the biological setup. God, the creator, whatever it is that you want to call it. So then in the scenario that we were talking about, right? And someone is saying men can naturally produce breast milk. Please research. You know what? I did see that under extreme cases, right? Under an extreme case where the mother was not present, that the father was able to produce breast milk for the child. However, in how many cases and how, listen, it's not feasible. It's just not sustainable. Because a person claimed that it happened in an extreme case where the breastfeeding mother was not available, and they said that the male parent was able to listen. You go right on ahead and watch that baby die, and then you be like, oh, well, why didn't I rise to the occasion? In special circumstances, people have the strength to be able to pick up a car off of their loved one, but that doesn't mean that will always be available. And then when your loved one gets crushed by a car and they're dead, then what do? Don't bank on some male breast being able to produce milk. Let's not bank on that. Let's not bank on it. Listen, because I read a lactating book. I read a book on lactating many years ago. Many years ago, and it said that under some extreme case that a man may have been known to produce breast milk for the crying baby. But you go ahead and you let that baby go 7 days without food and see what the F happens to that child, and see whether or not that child is still living while you're over there trying to make your male glands produce some damn milk when you didn't carry a baby. There are women who I know a woman who had a C-section. And because her body had not gone, she had an induced C-section. Because her body had not gone through the biological changes for giving birth, because there was no signal that came through, she didn't produce milk for her own doggone baby. But somebody inside the audience is going to talk about some man's breast can produce milk. Hush the nonsense. Hush the noise. So we got two different things, right? You have no uterus. Your natural nature. Your natural nature is to produce testosterone, right? And then you were also born with a penis. Those are three things right there. You were born with a penis, socialized as male. Your natural nature is to grow hair from your face and have a deep voice, and you have no uterus. So of course there would be apprehension. Of course there would be apprehension. A person may not want to deal with that. And that is that person's choice. If the person chooses that they don't want to deal with that. If they don't want to deal with that, that is the person's choice. And so Black Beauty is saying, my cousin couldn't produce, but I could make enough for the both of them. Had you just had a baby? Were you still breastfeeding? And Lex is saying, breastfeeding was so hard though, and it was stressing me out. Listen, so it's like, so there are women who give birth to babies who are not able to produce enough milk, right? It's not able to produce enough milk, but now we're going to come talking about there are men who can be able to breastfeed. When there's mothers out here who can't breastfeed their own children. Exception and rule. Listen. Where did you get that YouTube sign from, JL50? I want to know. I haven't seen that inside of the emoji station. Okay, so you were pregnant together and had the babies 3 weeks apart. So you were already making milk. Okay. Yeah, it is sad thinking about a baby not having enough milk, but you know what? If you continue to let the baby suckle, you know, you will, because there's a process that your body, this is what I'm saying, the body is beautifully and wonderfully made. It is an amazing machine that man has not been able to duplicate on their own. I'm not accepting any more calls. I've already turned off the phone lines and I'm getting out of here because we've been on for more than 3 hours and I'm gone. I'm glad that you all had the conversation. I don't know where that YouTube thing comes from. What do you all do to get the YouTube symbol up? I want to know. So listen, thank you all for coming out. I appreciate all of you coming out. And we'll have another conversation another day, I'm sure. All right. Ralph, you're gonna have to show me how that's done because I have not seen that in the emoji store. All right. Thank you all. Thank you. It's on the desktop. Oh, I see. Good night, everybody. Thank you. And even though I scream at some of you, know that it's still love. It's all love. All right. Put up some hearts and say good night. Good night, everybody. Good night. 1717. I hope you're not vexed any longer. Good night, Ralph. Good night. Good night, VB. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you all for coming through. I'm going to go rest myself after this conversation. I don't know. Good night, everyone. Good night.